Chapter 61. Chi Tian Yao flashed and shouted, "There's one more!" Behind the sturdy barbarian, there was another barbarian. It was a barbarian youth. His whole body was dark. He held the same steel spear as Lei Xingfeng. Suddenly, the spear came out from under the barbarian's ribs and pierced towards Lei Xingfeng's chest. Lei Xingfeng raised his arm. In an instant, the tip of the steel spear shot out a bolt of lightning, striking the barbarian youth until his whole body trembled. Chi Tian Yao's spear suddenly flicked up from below. With a ding sound, he knocked away the axe. Because both sides were extremely fast, after exchanging two moves, he had already rushed past the barbarian youth. Lei Xingfeng shot out a bolt of lightning and also rushed past the barbarian youth. However, his spear's handle was thrust backwards. The spear's handle hit the barbarian youth's back, knocking him down to the ground. Before the sturdy barbarian and the barbarian youth could react, the group of people had already swept past like a whirlwind, not stopping at all. The barbarian youth cried out. Just as he stood up, he saw a big fatty rushing towards him. He roared and swung his axe. Jean Depang was not a soft persimmon. Although this guy was delicious, he was also a millwool master. He was very strong, much stronger than Lei Xingfeng. He directly rushed into the barbarian's arms and fiercely rammed into his chest. A huge force exploded. The barbarian only felt pain in his chest and heard a kacha sound. The bones in his chest were all broken by Jean Depang. Jean Depang was like a speeding train, directly ramming into the barbarian youth. Jean Depang then saw the barbarian youth trying to stand up. Jean Depang continued to run and stepped on the barbarian youth's body. Jean Depang's body was very heavy and his foot was very fierce. With a kacha sound, the barbarian youth screamed and fainted. Immediately, the 10 San Tua beasts, 10 soldiers, and Wei Zhenglong crazily ran over and stepped on the barbarian youth one by one. By the time the group arrived, the barbarian youth had already been trampled to death by the group of people. Gradually, the barbarians also realized that something was wrong. This group of people did not come to kill. They only wanted to defeat the barbarians blocking their way. If they could kill the barbarians, they would not hesitate to kill them. However, if the barbarians retreated, they would not entangle and directly pass them. Therefore, the barbarians no longer dauntlessly blocked them. Barbarians were barbaric and crazy, but they were definitely not stupid. Otherwise, they would not have fought with humans for so long. Like breaking rotten wood, this group of barbarians was slaughtering barbarians. Along the way, they left behind many barbarians' corpses and wounded. Although Jean Depang was chasing after them, he was actually very happy. He estimated that at least 70 or 80 barbarians had died. As for the barbarians with light injuries, there were even more. Half of this large barbarian tribe had been destroyed. Like a gust of wind, the entire group rushed past the barbarian tribe in less than 10 minutes. The barbarian tribe was quite large, covering an area of 3 square kilometers. Their houses were also very scattered. They were all built with mud, straw, and some round logs. It was very primitive. The one who made the barbarians gnash their teeth the most was Jean Depang. When this guy passed through the barbarian tribe, he was constantly releasing balls of raging fire. As long as he passed through the barbarian tribe, all the houses would be set on fire. He was killing and setting fire to the barbarians. His goal was very simple: to kill as many barbarians as possible and create more chaos. The soldiers under his command were running for their lives. Their faces were all pale. What a joke, they were surrounded by barbarians. They were ordinary people. If any barbarian pounced on them, they wouldn't be able to resist. If they couldn't escape, it meant that they would be eaten by the barbarians. They all knew that humans had always been one of the barbarians' food sources. Wei Zhenglong kept yelling, "Run, run. Damn it, run faster. Whoever falls behind will be unlucky. No one could save them. Run." Even though these soldiers were barely able to keep up, there was still one soldier who couldn't escape. This unlucky guy tripped over a barbarian's corpse. If he could get up and continue running, he might be able to escape. But the problem was that this soldier had sprained one of his legs. How could he escape with a limp? It must be known that this group of people was running at full speed. Soon, he was drowned by the barbarians chasing after him. Hearing that soldier's screams and howls, all the soldiers seemed to have been injected with chicken blood. They ran with all their strength. Wei Zhenglong was still shouting, "Mother of asterisk her, pay attention to your feet, pay attention to your feet, don't fall or no one can save you. Quick, quick, quick." One of the soldiers ran while screaming, "I can't run anymore. I can't run anymore. I'm gonna die." Wei Zhenglong scolded, "If you can't run, then go die. What are you screaming for? Quick, quick, faster." He was anxious. The barbarians in front of him had already started to pull away. If it wasn't for Jean Depang, who was in between the two groups, continuously killing the barbarians who were charging at them, they would definitely have been blocked by the barbarians. Even so, it was still very dangerous. Finally, everyone rushed out of the barbarian tribe's camp and killed their way out. After running for a while, the barbarians behind them gradually gave up chasing. Only a few barbarians were unwilling to give up and continued to follow them. Qi Tian Yao raised the steel spear in his hand and yelled, "Good! Stop!" The two groups stopped. Jean Depang looked back and saw that he didn't lose any of his 10 Santua beasts. However, he did lose 2 soldiers. One of them was very unlucky and fell down in the barbarian camp. The other one ran over, but when they stopped, he fell down and died. It was that guy who was screaming like a ghost. His heart exploded, and he died from running too fast. Lei Xingfeng stopped. There was a thin layer of sweat on his forehead. This distance was nothing, but it was too exciting. His sweat was brought about by his excitement. Lei Xingyao came down from Elder Thunderstorm's embrace. She was already used to seeing slaughter. Ever since she left Tiger Cliff Castle, she gradually got used to this kind of situation. To her, this was actually a good thing. In the future, when she started to train, she wouldn't have any resistance towards slaughter. Elder Thunderstorm laughed. "Afeng, how was it?" Lei Xingfeng said, "Exciting, satisfying. I have never fought like this before. It made my blood boil." The old man Lei Bao, Shi Quan, and Hong Chun all laughed loudly. Actually, they were too embarrassed to make a move. Their level was too high, and they already disdained to make a move against the barbarians. It felt like a strong man bullying a group of ants. There was no sense of accomplishment. But watching the younger generation kill, that feeling was different. Jean Depang was reprimanding his subordinates. He said, "Zhenglong, what kind of plaything did you choose? I told you to choose a stronger soldier." Fuck, an idiot was trapped in the camp and was probably eaten. There was also an idiot that actually ran to his death. Too fucking weak. How did you train them normally? This isn't a battle. It's just running. Fuck, they don't even know how to run. Wei Zhenglong felt wronged. The soldiers he found were already very strong, but how could they compare to this group of abnormal practitioners? If it was just normal soldiers, they probably wouldn't be able to catch up even if they ran to their deaths. Even so, 2 of them died. He didn't dare to reply. He could only listen to Jean Depang spittle. He understood that Jean Depang was heartbroken. This fellow had always been protective of his own people. Now that 2 of his subordinates died, his mood would definitely be bad. Yin Yin sat at the side. She was thinking about the battle just now. To her, this kind of battle was hard to come by. It also helped her a lot. Now, she was fighting with the weaker barbarians. In the future, she would gradually transition to fighting with people of similar level. Developing a good battle awareness was her goal. She didn't care how many barbarians she had to kill. Lei Xingfeng was also reflecting. This kind of battle also helped him a lot. According to the teachings of the old man, there were no shortcuts in battle. One could only rely on one battle after another to strengthen oneself and develop a good battle awareness. Especially at a young age, once a good battle awareness was developed, one's battle power would definitely surpass people of the same level. In this battle, the 2 people who benefited the most were Yin Yin and Lei Xingfeng. This was also the reason why the old man, Thunderstorm, didn't object to attacking the barbarian tribe's camp. There were still barbarians lingering in the distance. They already understood that this group of people was very strong and wasn't something they could fight against. Therefore, they didn't dare to fight. Instead, they watched from afar, hoping to see them leave. The group rested for a while. This wasn't a good place to rest. so they quickly resumed their journey. This was the border between the desert and the oasis. There was no lack of trees and wild grass. There were also many ponds. Under Jean de Pang's lead, they came to a small river in the evening. The water was very shallow and very clear. The water quality was quite good. A few thousand Lewin masters went out to hunt. There was a very famous sea buckthorn chicken ear. It was a very famous delicacy. Under Jean de Pang's suggestion, Chi Tian Yao sent a few subordinates to hunt with Jean de Pang. When the bonfire was lit, Jean de Pang brought a few people back from hunting. For Lewin masters, this kind of hunting was a piece of cake. They had hunted a total of 10 sea buckthorn chickens. Jean de Pang said regretfully, "Too bad we didn't have enough time. Otherwise, we could have hunted more sea buckthorn chickens." The sea buckthorn chicken wasn't big. According to Lei Xingfeng's eyes, this sea buckthorn chicken was only a little bigger than the pigeons in his previous life. Sea buckthorn chicken soup was a holy dish for making soup. Sea buckthorn chicken soup was not only delicious, but also tender. It didn't need to be stewed for a long time. Jean de Pang was a foodie and also a gourmet. He personally made a few big pots of sea buckthorn chicken soup and personally filled a big bowl for the three sages. The old man, Thunderstorm, passed the bowl to Lei Xingfeng. Lei Xingfeng laughed and said, "Pang Ji's flattery is good." Everyone burst into laughter. Jean de Pang's expression didn't change as he said, "I'm just showing respect to my elders. Little brother, don't worry, Pang Ji will also flatter you." As he spoke, he also passed a bowl to Lei Xingfeng. Lei Xingfeng tasted a mouthful and couldn't help but praise, "Good soup." Lei Xingyao also said, "Brother, this soup is delicious." Shi Quan and the others also praised. This sea buckthorn chicken soup was really delicious. Chapter 62. Jean de Pang was very proud. He said, "This is one of Shi Rong country's best specialties. It can only be found at the border between the desert and the oasis. Such a sea buckthorn chicken, if it's a live chicken, in Shi Rong country's capital, a sea buckthorn chicken is worth a gold ring. If you're not rich, you definitely can't afford it." Xian Yao clicked her tongue. "Wah, so expensive. I want to drink more." Hee hee. Everyone ate happily. Even the soldiers drank a big bowl of sea buckthorn chicken soup. Following this Commander Jean de Pang, they can't talk about anything else, but in terms of food, it's definitely good. They can eat a lot of strange food. Although Jean de Pang often reprimanded his subordinates, their loyalty is very high. After a night's rest, the group continued on their journey. A few days later, the group entered Stellar Night Fortress. They didn't walk far before they met with a group of robbers, and they were all practitioners. Most of them were 100 Lun Masters or 1,000 Lun Masters. They were killed by Chi Tian Yao, Lei Xingfeng, and Wen Yin until they pissed their pants. For some reason, after entering Stellar Night Fortress, they continuously met with robbers. After killing a group, they didn't walk far before another group came. Jean de Pang said curiously, "I used to say that Stellar Night Fortress is very chaotic, but this is the first time I know that Stellar Night Fortress is so chaotic. It's strange that I haven't seen it before. How can there be so many robbers? Could it be that they lack money?" The old man Thunderstorm said, "Since you're curious, don't kill them all. Just catch a few and ask them." Chi Tian Yao nodded. "That's good. A phone one may catch a few in the future, then kill them." After this period of time, the three of them became familiar with each other, calling each other brother, sister, brother, and sister. They seemed to be very close. Lei Xingfeng said, "Big brother Qi, sister Wen Yin, I'll be in charge of releasing electricity. You guys are in charge of catching." He could use this move to slow down the enemy and make them lose their ability to move temporarily. In fact, he had a lot of Lei Lunli techniques that he did not use. It was not that he did not want to use them, but the old man asked him to use them sparingly. Once he got used to it, he would not want to fight in close range. Jean de Pang, as the backup member of the three, would normally fight with the three of them. If there were too many people, he would have to go up. As for the cleanup team, they were ordered by Shi Quan to guard the Santo beasts and were not allowed to go up to fight. He had already seen that old man Thunderstorm wanted to train Lei Xingfeng, and Hong Chun also agreed, as he also wanted his disciple to participate in more battles. Another 2 days passed. Just as they were about to arrive at Stellar Night Fortress, Lei Xingfeng and the others thought that there would be no more danger. They did not expect that the team would encounter a group of cultivators robbing them. Lei Xingfeng said, "No wonder no ordinary person dares to enter this place. The robberies are too frequent. Strange, are these people crazy?" Jean Depang said unhappily, "I don't know if they're crazy or not, but I'm about to go crazy. There's no end to it, it's so annoying." Lei Xingfeng said, "Pang Ge, I didn't ask you to go up. It's just me, Brother Qi, and Sister Yin fighting. What's there for you to be annoyed about?" Jean Depang said, "Annoying." Xian Yao could not stop laughing. She liked to see Jean Depang's sad face. It was as fun as it could be. These few days, Jean Depang had been sucking up to the little girl, giving her all kinds of snacks. Jean Depang knew that as long as he sucked up to the little girl, there would definitely be benefits. Because of how much Old Man Thunderstorm doted on the little girl, he could clearly see it. So sucking up to the little girl was the same as sucking up to the old man. Jean Depang took out a special dried meat and passed it to Xian Yao, saying, "Yao Yao, eat some meat and watch your brother kill people." Xian Yao took it without hesitation, saying, "Thank you, Pang Ge." Jean Depang laughed, saying, "Good Yao Yao." At first, when he called her Yao Yao, the little girl would roll her eyes. Only after he sucked up to her did the little girl finally agree. This time, the robbers did not even set up an ambush, but blocked the road, brazenly robbing. There were a total of 7 people. No one knew why they were so daring. The strongest among them was only a 1,000 Lun Master, but they actually dared to rob a group of mostly 1,000 Lun Masters. "Put down your money, leave behind the Santaw beasts, and leave behind this woman, then the rest can pass." Qi Tian Yao was angered to the point of laughing, saying, "Is there something wrong with their brains?" Yin was angered by the words "leave behind the woman." She giggled and walked forward, saying, "You want me to stay?" The group laughed, saying, that's right, the lady stays." One of the wretched guys said, "This uncle is lacking a lady to warm my bed. I'll choose you." "Ha, white and tender, it suits my taste." Another guy said, "Hey, why is it yours? It's all of us." The group of people immediately laughed happily, all of them rubbing their fists, eager to give it a try. Yan's face had already turned green. She suddenly laughed coldly. After this period of fighting, Lei Xingfeng was very clear. Yin was already angered. He laughed and said to Qi Tian Yao, "Big sister, Yin wants to kill people." Qi Tian Yao nodded. He also knew that Yin was angered, saying, "All right, it's good to let them experience it. I just don't understand. Why are these people rushing forward dauntlessly, not caring about their lives to rob?" Yin suddenly pounced forward. She did not say anything and directly charged forward. The opponent's strongest was only 1,000 Lun Master. Most of them were 100 Lun Masters. How could they fight against a Millwill Master? In an instant, one of them was killed by her. The opponent seemed to be scared silly, continuously shouting, "Stop! Stop!" Yin shouted, "Stop your mother's hand! Kill!" Lei Xingfeng said, "Interesting, the robbers here, every time they start fighting, they would shout to stop." Once the fight starts, shouting to stop, isn't it too stupid? He had not finished speaking. Yin had already killed the third person. The opponent did not have any ability to resist. The gap between the two was too big. Even Lei Xingfeng did not have the desire to participate in the fight. Yin was like cutting melons and vegetables. In a few breaths, she killed 4 people. Lei Xingfeng suddenly thought of something and shouted, "Big sister Yin, leave a few alive." With this sentence, Yin killed another 2 people. The remaining one, if not for Lei Xingfeng's timely shout, most likely would have been killed by her. With one kick, she kicked down the last survivor. She stepped on that person and said, "Luckily, there's one left. I'm so angry that I'm confused." Using strength to step on that person, she lowered her head and asked, "You still want me to stay?" "Humph! Even if I stay, can you all live?" That person was already scared to the point of crying and said, "Spare me. You all don't follow the rules." Everyone gathered. Lei Xingfeng squatted down and asked curiously, "Follow the rules? We have to follow the rules?" That person said with tears in his eyes, "We guard the road. You all go through. As long as you win against us, you can go through. As for killing us, Lei Xingfeng and the others looked at each other. They did not understand what this person was saying. Yin fiercely stomped on the other person's foot and said, "You want me to stay? What's going on?" That person cried, "Isn't this a joke? Since you're not allowed to kill, taking advantage of you, you won't die." This time, everyone heard the problem. Qi Tianyao said, You're not allowed to kill, what do you mean?" That person cried and said, "We are all disciples from different sects who came out to train, killing each other, but we're not allowed to kill each other. We can seize each other's equipment. Of course, we cannot touch the things in the hidden Luin space. We cannot touch them. But you all, come up and kill. You don't follow the rules." Suddenly, that person trembled. As if he thought of something, he said, "You all are not disciples here to train?" Only then did he react. These disciples did not understand the dangers outside. They even purposely pretended to be bad guys. It would be hard to not die even if they wanted to. Everyone was dumbfounded. No wonder there were so many robbers. No wonder their strength was so weak. No wonder once the battle started, they were all clay chickens and pottery dogs, with Qi Tianyao, Yin, and Lei Xingfeng's strength. If they attacked together, they would not even have the chance to explain. With the three's battle experience, once the battle started, it would be a life-and-death struggle. There would not be a trace of mercy. Plus, the three's strength was high. They did not have a single captive, of course. They did not know that there was a large group of disciples here to train. Lei Xingfeng said, "I'm curious. Can't you see that we are different from the disciples here to train? Why are you still talking nonsense?" That person cried even more and said, "There were disciples mixed in with other people's groups, trying to fish in troubled waters. So Old Man Thunderstorm coughed and said, 'Which sects are participating in this event?' That person counted with his fingers and said, 'Golden Sand Sect, Great Eagle Sect, Shadawa Gang, Green Alliance, Poison Scorpion Sect, Great Tranquility Sect.' He named more than 20 sects in one breath." Thunderstorm nodded. With a flick of his finger, a silver light flashed, and that person immediately died on the ground. Along the way, they had killed at least 100 people. If this was leaked out, it would be very troublesome. Although Old Man Thunderstorm was not afraid, this kind of thing was better not to be exposed. In fact, they had already poked a hornet's nest. Along the way, they had killed so many disciples. Fortunately, they had a habit of burning the dead with fire. However, as time passed, those sects would eventually realize that something was wrong. A few sparks flew out, and the 7 corpses were burnt to ashes in a few seconds. The old man Lei Bao said, "Let's go. This is not a place to stay for long. Fatty, come here. We better take a detour and erase our traces." At this moment, 2 people flew over from afar. Trouble was coming. Chapter 63. The 2 mill wheel masters. With one look, it was obvious that they were important figures in the sect. Their speed was extremely fast. In just a few breaths of time, they had already arrived. Elder Thunderstorm, Shi Quan, and Hong Chun were all silent, their expressions indifferent as they looked at the 2 people who were flying towards them. The others also stood still, quietly waiting for them to arrive. Lei Xingfeng said softly, "They shouldn't be disciples on training, but supervisors of the sect." Elder Thunderstorm said indifferently, "I hope they don't notice anything." Lei Xingfeng's heart shivered. He understood the meaning of those words. If these 2 people notice anything, then don't even think about leaving here alive. Elder Thunderstorm always gave him a kind feeling, but ever since his injuries were healed, some of his actions made him understand that the Elder was only good to him and his sister. As for outsiders, he really didn't care. If he should kill, he would kill. If he should beat, he would beat. Of course, Lei Xingfeng also didn't care. To him, the Elder was his family. He didn't care about anything else. When the 2 mill wheel masters saw them, they flew over, quickly arriving in front of the crowd. Zhong Zhong was the supervisor of the Ning sect's outer sect. Hong Shafei was the supervisor of the Ing sect's War Eagle Hall. The 2 of them were mill wheel masters. These few days, the 2 of them received orders from their respective sects. There were many disciples on training that suddenly disappeared without any trace. The 2 of them received orders to protect the disciples on training. This training had already ended early. The 2 of them arrived in front of the crowd. Zhong Zhong said, "Did you see a few youngsters?" Qi Tianyao said, No, we didn't see any youngsters, he denied. Hong Shafei looked around. He suddenly said, Old Zhong, quickly come over. Zhong quickly walked to Hong Shafei's side. Hong Shafei pointed to the ground, causing him to be stunned. There were traces of fire on the ground, and with one look, he knew that it was the fire produced by Huolun Li. In an instant, he realized that these were not traces of battle, but traces of fire. Hong Shafei squatted down and reached out his hand to touch the ground. He grabbed a handful of soil and inspected it. His expression changed. Based on his experience, there was a corpse that had been incinerated. There were pieces of ash in the soil. Zhong's face instantly turned pale. He pulled Hong Shafei and wanted to retreat, but when he pulled Hong Shafei, he discovered that he was already surrounded. Qi Tianyao was not stupid. When Hong Shafei squatted down, he had already secretly ordered his men to surround the two of them. Since they were discovered and they were still at the scene, they were the ones who killed them. Even if they were not the ones who killed them, they would not be able to explain themselves. So the only solution was to keep the two of them alive. Lei Xingfeng shook his head inwardly. He also followed and surrounded them. He knew that these two people could not be let go. Once these two people escaped, he reckoned that all the sects would come to kill them. Shi Quan and the old man, Thunderstorm, looked at each other. This problem had to be solved. Killing two people was better than killing countless small sections. There was no doubt about that. So the two had a tacit understanding after looking at each other. They couldn't let these two go. Zhong said in a deep voice, Who are you people? Hong Shafei acted as if he was facing a great enemy. He could already tell that these people were not normal people. They were extremely powerful. He said, I'm the manager of the Great Eagle sect, Hong Shafei. I'm a Millwell master. Why do you want to kill our disciples? Zhong said to Ning's sect, Zhong. I am a Millwell master. The two of them had the same idea. They wanted to make the other party not dare to make a move. So they directly revealed their sect and rank. A Millwell master was considered to be a middle to high rank cultivator. Of course, to a sage, a Millwell master was too weak. There were countless Millwell masters, but to be able to advance to a sage with one true ring body, a sage with a Millwell master was extremely rare. Out of 100 Millwell masters, there might not even be 5 sage with a Millwell. So, Millwell masters had a large deterrent force among cultivators. However, the two of them did not expect that in this small group, there would be 3 sage-level super experts. The two of them had no effect at all. Qi Tianyao did not explain, nor did he have any way to explain. Could he tell them that it was because they came to rob them, so they killed these people? Thus, no one explained. Everyone knew that unless the other party did not come, it would be a situation where they would fight to the death. Their only mission was to keep the two of them here and not let them escape. At this time, no matter if it was Qi Tianyao, Yin, or Lei Xingfeng, they did not have any thoughts of gaining battle experience. Qi Tianyao said, Sorry, who we are you don't need to know. Shi Quan said, Old bro, do you want to do it, or should I? Thunderstorm was too embarrassed to make a move. It was just a Millwell master. If he made a move, it would be bullying a child. He stretched out his hand and said, Old bro, please. Shi Quan nodded and smiled. That's good too. I haven't fought in a long time. Hong Chun said, Let me do it. I haven't moved yet. I'm embarrassed. Shi Quan said, All right, since your hands are itchy, then you do it. The three of them were being humble to each other. Zhong and Hong Shafei's faces turned white. Although the three of them had restrained their auras, but no matter if it was the way they spoke or their relaxed expressions, the two of them felt that something was wrong. Doubt flashed in their hearts. Could it be that the three of them were sage-level experts? Zhong and Hong Shafei did not dare to continue hesitating. The two of them had a tacit understanding and shouted at the same time. They split into 2 directions and rushed out. Hong Shafei rushed towards Qi Tianyao's position, while Zhong rushed towards Lei Xingfeng's position. Qi Tianyao shouted, Go back! The two of them collided head-on. In an instant, there was a loud explosion. The two of them retreated at the same time. They were both Millwell masters. Their lunley was about the same. Hong Shafei was unable to break through Qi Tian Yao's obstruction. Zhong Zhong, who collided with Lei Xingfeng, made Lei Xingfeng suffer a bit. He was beaten back continuously. However, Lei Xingfeng's unique Lei Lunli also made the opponent suffer. One must know that lightning has always been overbearing. Although Lei Xingfeng used the lowest level of Lei Lunli, he still succeeded in making Zhong Zhong tremble for a long time. Hong Chun shouted, "You all back off, I'll do it." A fist landed on Zhong Zhong's chest. Actually, this was all thanks to Lei Xingfeng's Lei Lunli. Zhong Zhong was still trembling when he saw a fist coming towards him. His limbs were slow, and he had no way to resist. He could not help but shout. He was extremely unwilling. The Mi ring armor on his body gave off a dazzling light. No matter what, he had to block this attack. He desperately injected his Lunli into the Mi ring armor. Hong Chen's light punch made Zhong Zhong's Mi ring armor shatter like paper. This punch landed directly on Zhong Zhong's chest. He could only watch as the fist made contact with his chest. Following that, incomparable pain surged forth. His vision turned black, and he was beaten to death by this punch. Just one punch to kill a Millwall master. Hong Chen roared and rushed towards Hong Shafei. Hong Shafei's pupils shrunk. He was really frightened. As a Millwall master, he could not believe that Zhong Zhong could not resist at all and was killed by one punch. A thought flashed through his mind, and he could not help but shout, "Stop! You are a real person. You can't attack me." Hong Chun had already rushed in front of him. He heard him say, "Idiot, go and die." Hong Shafei did not dare to block. He dodged to the side. There was only one thought in his mind: escape. Pa! Another light punch landed on Hong Shafei's back. Hong Shafei concentrated all his Lunli into the Mi ring armor on his back. In an instant, the Mi ring armor shattered. Different from Zhong Zhong, he concentrated all his Lunli on his back. Although the Mi ring armor shattered, it dispersed most of the power. Following the impact of this punch, his entire person was like a kite with a broken string. He directly passed through the surrounding people and landed outside. His feet landed on the ground, and he fiercely rushed forward. Hong Chen said, "Smart guy, but you can't escape." Hong Shafei spat out a mouthful of blood. He knew that his internal organs had already shattered. It was all because of his Lunli that he was supporting himself. He raised his hand and threw out a Luan weapon. That Luan weapon let out a woo-woo sound and instantly flew into the air. It exploded in the air. This was the signal for an enemy attack and rescue. It was also the most serious and highest level signal. The old man Lei Bao shouted, "Kill him." Hong Chen's face instantly turned red. He felt that he had never looked this bad before. After being humiliated by someone, he immediately went crazy and rushed towards Hong Shafei, scolding, "Go to hell, you bastard! I will crush you." Hong Shafei staggered and ran a few steps. He suddenly understood that it was impossible for him to escape. Thinking that he had already sent out the signal, his face could not help but reveal a sinister smile. He turned around and looked at Hong Chun, who was rushing towards him, saying, "Our great eagle sect will not let you go." Hong Chun raised his hand and chopped down, scolding, "Idiot! Originally you were going to die, but now I'm going to kill your whole sect." Hong Shafei suddenly realized that there was definitely something wrong with the identity of this group of people. It was hard to say whether his signal was a blessing or a curse. His face showed extreme unwillingness as he was chopped to death by Hong Chen's palm. Lei Xingfeng smiled bitterly. Hong Chen was right. This person was an idiot. If he had just died silently, everyone would have been fine. But if they had confirmed that they were the culprits and attracted a large group of people to surround and attack them, who knows how many people would have died? With the experts in their group, a normal small to medium-sized sect was not enough. Especially in the group, there was a super expert, a super demon. The consequences of angering him were something that even Lei Xingfeng did not dare to imagine. Thunderstorm said, "Okay, let's go." Qi Quan said, "Burn these two bodies." Qi Tianyao said, "Leave it to me." Chapter 64. Everyone quickly packed up and destroyed all traces. Jean Depang didn't dare to continue leading them through the predetermined path, but turned and headed in another direction. At the very least, they needed to enter Stellar Night Fortress from another direction. Jean Depang specially instructed them not to kill anyone along the way and not to alert anyone. After crossing the main road, the group entered a sparse forest. Just as they entered the forest, they noticed someone heading towards the place where they had stopped. Carefully hiding, the group walked in the forest very quietly. Outside, there were long whistles, which was a communication method unique to this place. Elder Thunderstorm's expression was obviously not good. According to his temper, he didn't care if he was discovered or not. He would just kill his way over. Whoever blocked him would die. But looking at Lei Xingfeng and Lei Xingyao, he sighed slightly and let it go. After all, he wasn't alone. They hurried through the night, and on the second day, they stepped onto another main road. This road into Stellar Night Fortress meant that they were no longer suspicious. Jean Depang suddenly understood. He immediately ordered his soldiers to change into ordinary clothes. No wonder they were misunderstood by the disciples on their way here. They had forced their way through the barbarian tribe, which was a dead end. Of course, no one would come here, so it was normal for them to be misunderstood. They were already close to Stellar Night Fortress, and after hurrying through the night, they arrived at another road. The sky was already bright, and on the main road, they could see many people in carriages, as well as teams of Santua beasts. Lei Xingfeng laughed. This road is still for people. There's not even a shadow on the road in front. Jean Depang said, "Of course, why don't you think about it? Other than us, who else would walk on that road?" Lei Xingfeng said, "Aye, we're going to Stellar Night Fortress. Do you have a specific address?" Elder Thunderstorm nodded, "And I have an old friend there, and some friends. Maybe they've already arrived." His tone was a little emotional. Lei Xingfeng thought for a while and understood why the elder was emotional. After he was injured, he probably didn't plan to see his old friends again. This time, he actually came out again and could see his old friends again, so it was normal for him to be emotional. At noon that day, the group finally entered Stellar Night Fortress. This was a huge open space, with countless tents and simple and shabby huts. Like Majin City, this place was dirty and messy, with a stench filling the air. The ground was littered with piles of trash that no one cleaned, and there were large puddles that emitted a fishy smell. Lei Xingfeng looked in disbelief as he said, "Aye, this is Stellar Night Fortress? My God, it's too stinky." Xen Yao also covered her nose and said, "Grandpa, brother, smelly." Lei Xingfeng laughed. Lei Xingyao, Lei Xingyao, Lei Xingyao, and Lei Xingyao, Lei Xingyao, Lei Xingyao, Lei Xing. Shiquan and Hongchun were also surprised. This place was too chaotic, just as they walked and they saw a corpse on the side of the road, as if it had just been hacked to death. Elder Thunderstorm laughed. Although this place is messy and stinky, but to some people, this is a good place. This is the outer area of Stellar Night Fortress. We need to pass through here and the forest in front. There should be a river in front. Lei Xingfeng observed for a while and said, "Aren't there no normal people here?" Elder Thunderstorm laughed. "Of course, they're not normal people. They're all fugitives. Here, the government can't control them. Practitioners also can't control them. So this place is lawless. Here, if someone provokes you, the only way is to kill them. Of course, if you're not strong enough, then you'll be killed." One Yin said, "Senior, that's just a killing between normal people. It has nothing to do with us practitioners." Elder Thunderstorm said, "Practitioners are about the same. There's no difference. Only the strength they display is different, and practitioners have more killing power." Very quickly, the group of people passed through the messy camp. Along the way, no one dared to provoke them. Those who lived here, if they didn't have good eyesight, they would have died long ago. As long as they weren't blind, they would know that this group of people were not to be trifled with. The forest wasn't big. After walking for about 10 minutes, they arrived at a small river. A small stone bridge spanned the two sides, and on the other side, there was a building. This building was completely different. It was all made of brick and stone, very beautiful small buildings. The ground was also very clean, giving Lei Xingfeng the impression that the other side of the river was the slums, and this was the rich district. Lei Xingfeng said, "This is Stellar Night Fortress?" Elder Thunderstorm said, "Yes, this is the real Stellar Night Fortress. The people who live here are all practitioners." As he spoke, he turned his head and said, "Jean Depang." Jean Depang came over and said, "Senior, I know my subordinates will set up their tents in the forest and won't cross the bridge. Normal people weren't allowed to enter Stellar Night Fortress. If they had to enter, then they deserved to die." The old man Lei Bao said, "And we'll leave our Santua beasts here. Let Wei Zheng Long stay as well, and leave a few people to follow us. Their strength is too weak, without anyone to guard. I reckon that when we return, nothing will be left behind." Jean Depang nodded. Chi Tian Yao ordered the entire cleanup team to stay. These 1,000 Lun Masters and Wan Lun Shi. Even in this place, they were a very strong force. Even a small sect wouldn't dare to casually make a move against them, not to mention the people outside the camp. Jean Depang gave a few more words of advice before leaving. Under the lead of Elder Thunderstorm, they crossed the small stone bridge. Shi Quan, Hong Chun, Yin Yin, Chi Tian Yao, Jean Depang, and Elder Thunderstorm. A total of 8 people walked into Stellar Night Fortress. Just as they crossed the small stone bridge, a dozen practitioners appeared. No one knew where they were hiding. Suddenly appearing, the leader of the Mill Wheel Masters said, "Who are you looking for?" Elder Thunderstorm said with an indifferent expression, "I'm looking for Tai Long." Only then did Lei Xingfeng know that Stellar Night Fortress Tai Long was actually a person's name. The Mill Wheel Master's face revealed a shocked expression, but he didn't dare to be careless, to be able to directly call out Stellar Night Fortress leader's name. This person definitely wasn't simple. He said, "Please tell us your name. We will pass the message." Elder Thunderstorm said, "Thunderstorm," and didn't say anything else. That Mill Wheel Master bowed respectfully and turned to leave. The others were still staring at them, but they obviously didn't have any hostility. After a moment, a group of people ran over. The leader was an old man, laughing loudly from far away. "Old brother Lei, old man, you're finally here. I've been anxiously waiting for you." This was an old man with a healthy body. He was famous here. His strength was extremely strong. A true ring body, a true treasure lineal master. He raised a large group of practitioners. Even in Shirong country, he was an overlord. Tai Long walked in front of Elder Thunderstorm, carefully looking at him. He laughed and opened his arms. The two hugged. Tai Long said, "Old brother, you've become younger. Look at me. My hair and beard are all white. Ha." A granny with a head full of white hair walked out from behind Tai Long. She laughed. "Old man Lei, actually not dead yet." Thunderstorm looked carefully and couldn't help but shout, "No way, aren't you dead?" The granny scolded. "Damn old man, cursing me to death the moment we meet." Elder Thunderstorm laughed loudly. He seemed to be extremely happy. He said, "Good, good. I didn't expect old sister to still be so energetic. Ha ha, ha ha ha." The granny said, "Of course, I'm not any worse than you." "Damn old man. He left for 10 years without any news. What the hell is he doing? He's making us worried." Elder Thunderstorm sighed and said, "It's a long story. Come. A phone, Yao Yao. Come and greet Grandpa and Grandma." Tai Long said, "Grandpa and Grandma? Yeah, you have a grandson. How come I didn't know you had a wife?" Elder Thunderstorm said, "I don't have a wife to begin with." Tai Long didn't understand. No wife? Where did this grandson and granddaughter come from? Elder Thunderstorm said, "Damn, why are you talking so much nonsense? This is my grandson and granddaughter." Lei Xingfeng walked forward and said, "Greetings, Grandpa and Grandma." Lei Xian Yao said, "Yao Yao greets Yi Grandma." Her voice was tender and soft. The granny nodded at Lei Xingfeng. Then her attention was attracted by Lei Xian Yao. She hugged Lei Xian Yao and said happily, "Io, I like this child. And wait, this child has a single Lun mark. LV Lun. This is incredible. Old man Lei, you actually have such an outstanding granddaughter." Tai Long was interested in Lei Xingfeng. He said, "Aslan, you look at this child, a single lightning Lun mark. Wan Lun Shi, right? You're A phone, right? How old are you?" Lei Xingfeng said, Grandpa, I'm 16 years old. Everyone present was an expert. Of course they knew what a 16-year-old Wan Luan sure meant. Aslan hugged Lei Xingfeng and didn't let go. She sized up Lei Xingfeng before her attention was taken away by Lei Xianyao again. She said, "That was personally taught by old man Lei. A 16-year-old Wan Lin sure is indeed not bad, but I like this girl more." A skinny middle-aged man looked at them with a smile. He walked forward and said, "Uncle Lei, this little nephew didn't disappoint you, but there are still a few seniors that haven't arrived yet." Elder Thunderstorm laughed. "You run faster than me." Yin Wu, is your father coming this time?" Yin Wu shook his head. "Father isn't coming. He specially sent me to listen to Uncle Lei's commands." Lei Xingfeng noticed that the surrounding people were very respectful to Yin Wu. Even seniors like Tai Long and Aslan were very polite to Yin Wu. He couldn't help but be curious. He didn't know that Yin Wu was an expert who condensed 4 true ring bodies, a great true Luanine master. His father was even more powerful. Even Elder Thunderstorm had to call him elder brother. He was a truly powerful expert. Yin Wu continued, "Uncle Lei, my father told me to tell you that Dayton might come back." Thunderstorm's face changed. Chapter 65. Thunderstorm said, "That old bastard also came?" Yin Wu said, and he brought a lot of people, all experts. My father told Uncle Lei to be careful. This person is hard to deal with." Thunderstorm said, I know, we've fought countless times. After so many years, I don't know if this fellow has improved." Tai Long said, "Old bro, Tong has been in the limelight recently. I heard that he broke through 10 years ago and condensed his 6 true ring body. He's a rare true Een master." Thunderstorm said, 10 years ago. That means he's already stabilized his cultivation. How troublesome. That old bastard. His tone had a trace of resentment and unwillingness. Aslan said, "Old Lei, don't bother with that fellow. If he dares to provoke us, we'll beat him up." Saying so, she revealed a fawning expression and said, "Old Lei, that old bro Lei, this child. I really like her. I want to take her as my disciple. What do you think?" Thunderstorm hesitated, but before he could speak, Aslan became anxious and said, "Old Lei." Lei Xingfeng's expression changed. He didn't want Aslan to take Lei Xingyao away, but he didn't know how to stop her. Thunderstorm said, "Old sister, Yao Yao is still young. It's not time for her to train yet." Aslan hugged Lei Xingyao tightly and said, "No, I want to take this disciple. When she grows up, who knows how many fellows will fight over her. I have to personally train her. I've searched for so many years and haven't found a single person with good talent, especially someone like Yao Yao." Her attitude was firm. Lei Bao pondered for a while. He was actually a bit moved. Even though Aslan had 4 true ring bodies, her position was extremely high, and her sect was extremely powerful. If Lei Xianyao became her disciple, she wouldn't be at a disadvantage at all. Furthermore, Aslan's connections were extremely wide, and if she wanted some special things, it would be very easy for her to get them. Unlike him, who was alone and had enemies all over the world, Lei Xianyao would be much better off if she followed Aslan. Lei Xingyao didn't seem to dislike Aslan. She didn't know what it meant to be a disciple. She only smiled and looked around. Thunderstorm couldn't make a decision at the moment. He said, "Old sister, let's wait until this matter ends, and Yao Yao must agree. If not, I can't agree." Aslan said, "Okay, in this period of time, I'll be in charge of Yao Yao's life." She understood that she couldn't be anxious. This kind of genius couldn't be forced. Tai Long said, "Old bro Lei, let's go." The old man Lei Bao nodded. "Okay, let's go in." "All right, we still have some people outside. Help us look after them." Among the normal people, 100 Luan masters' strength was considered powerful, but they weren't invincible. As for 1,000 Luan master, among the normal people, there were basically no opponents. Unless it was a special situation, they could win against any normal person. Thus, even if 1,000 Luan master stood at the peak of normal people, 1,000 Luan master was at the bottom of the practitioners. There were many thousand Luan masters who saw that they had no hope of advancing and were more willing to mingle with normal people. With their strength, normal people wouldn't offend them for no reason. Even those with money and power would be respectful to them. In Stellar Night Fortress, 1,000 Master was the lowest level of residence, which meant that you had to reach the cultivation of 1,000 Master to be able to live in Stellar Night Fortress. As for 100 Master and a small Master, they only had the right to enter Stellar Night Fortress. They didn't have the right to live. Tai Long walked over. When the practitioners saw him, they immediately retreated to the side and gave way to show their respect. Lei Xingfeng didn't understand. He asked softly, "Ai, why does this place only take in practitioners?" Old man Thunderstorm laughed. "What's the use of normal people coming? The reason why practitioners want to come to Stellar Night Fortress is because here they can get the guidance of experts. Here, experts will regularly organize lectures on cultivation, discussing cultivation problems." Lei Xingfeng was stunned. He said, "Lectures?" Lei Bao nodded and said, "That's right, lectures. The most important thing is that you can cultivate your own forces. All the cultivators here, after a period of observation, you can absorb some of them and conduct more advanced lectures. For those cultivators who don't belong to any sect, this is an excellent opportunity to improve their strength faster." Lei Xingfeng's heart moved. This was considered a school? Of course, there was no concept of a school here, but there were some functions of school here. No wonder it could attract a large number of practitioners. Very quickly, the group passed through a residential area and entered a 3-story brick building. Tai Long led the way in front. He didn't stop in the small building, but passed through it. Behind the small building was another world. Behind it were many large courtyards. The structure was very interesting. It was like a beehive. Every courtyard was a hexagonal beehive, just that it took up a large area. There were short walls and trees separating them. They were all simple wooden bungalows. Lei Xingfeng noticed that every courtyard had quite a number of practitioners. They were either meditating alone or gathered together to discuss something. There were also dozens of practitioners sitting together. There were experts standing in the middle, giving lectures. This place gave Lei Xingfeng even greater surprise, because this place was more like the research institute of the university in his previous life. There was a thick atmosphere of learning and discussion. Tai Long led the group to the largest courtyard. In the middle of this courtyard, there was a huge sunshade shed. It was completely made of wood. It was very spectacular. It took up a few hundred square meters. It was more than 20 meters tall. It was completely empty. There were more than 100 huge round wooden pillars. There were even exquisite carvings on them. It was extremely cool inside. The wooden roof didn't completely cover the sky. There were many gaps the sunlight leaked in. There were also wooden platforms on the ground. The height of the platforms were different. There were also many places surrounded by wooden railings. There was a pond in the open space. There were colorful fish swimming in the pond. After entering, even if Lei Xingfeng was experienced and knowledgeable in his previous life, he couldn't help but praise. This wooden shed was built too exquisitely. There were light gauze hanging around. It fluttered gently with the breeze. The wooden planks on the ground were polished smooth. "Welcome to Night Fortress." This building was called Night Fortress. It was also the place where Tai Long lived. In the middle of the building was a 3-story building. It was built in the middle of the wooden shed. It was also a very beautiful building. After entering the wooden building, Tai Long said happily. Lei Xingfeng sighed in his heart. This building was very unique. It was like a huge umbrella. The handle of the umbrella was the wooden building. The surface of the umbrella was the wooden shed. The terrain under the umbrella was even more undulating. There were corridors with carved railings, fake mountains and fish ponds. There were also flowers and plants, the light gauze fluttering. It was very beautiful. As for why it was called Night Fortress, he still didn't quite understand. After setting up the banquet, everyone sat down to eat. Only Jean Depang was very excited. This was Tai Long Night Fortress's banquet. From the dishes served, Tai Long was also a person who liked exquisite food. All kinds of local specialties were served. Jean Depang was full of praises. He felt that this trip was worth it. Tai Long also invited a few important people of Night Fortress. Most of them were experts with 1 or 2 true ring bodies. Lei Xingfeng counted, there were at least 5 or 6 of them. No wonder Night Fortress had such power in Shiron country. These people were enough to fight against a large sect. Lei Xingfeng didn't care about other people talking. He only brought Lei Xingyao to eat all kinds of strange food, and Aslan sat beside Lei Xingyao. She didn't want to relax and curry favor with Lei Xingyao. A talented disciple was hard to find. This she deeply understood. At her age, she hadn't found a disciple that she was satisfied with until now. There were many talented disciples in this world, but a talented disciple would often be crazily fought over the moment they were discovered, and no practitioner would be willing to give up a disciple with this kind of potential. Once a disciple with this kind of potential started to be nurtured, it was hard for others to interfere. For example, Lei Xingfeng was being nurtured by Thunderstorm. Even if others were stronger than Thunderstorm, they still couldn't interfere. So when Aslan saw Lei Xingyao, she almost never left her side, and Lei Xingyao was ignored by others. She stuck to Lei Xingfeng the most. As long as there was a chance, she would pull Lei Xingfeng, causing Aslan to have no choice but to follow the siblings. Aslan continuously placed dishes in front of Lei Xingyao, lovingly looking at the little fellow. The more she looked, the more satisfied she was. This little girl was definitely going to be her successor. She decided. Even if she had to pester her, she would take this little girl as her disciple. She would fight anyone who dared to snatch her away. No matter what, she was a super expert with 4 true ring bodies. And she was also a famous super expert in making medicine. The medicine she made was hard to buy even with money. No one wanted to go against someone like Aslan. Not only was she an expert in making medicine, she was also a super expert in healing, an expert with the green wheel attribute. No matter where she went, she would be the center of attention and was also the easiest to make friends with. In this group, Aslan had the most friends, and most of them were true experts. Lei Xingyao ate until her mouth was covered in oil. Aslan continuously used a handkerchief to wipe her mouth, her face full of smiles. It must be known that Aslan was an extremely fierce woman. Her personality was also extremely strong. Even the old man Thunderstorm didn't dare to go against her. Although the old man Thunderstorm was chatting with everyone, his attention would occasionally turn to the siblings. Seeing Aslan's appearance, he couldn't help but laugh. He didn't think that the strong Aslan would have such a gentle expression. Although the old man Thunderstorm's cultivation was the highest, he had always been a lone wolf. He didn't care about command or coordination. So this time, Tai Long was the leader. He was the commander. All the experts were commanded and coordinated by him. Chapter 66. Tai Long said, "This time we have old brother Lei Mi, old brother Yin Wu, old sister Aslan, old brother Qi Xian, old brother Hong Chun, and our knight strongholds 6 experts, 12 true masters. Other than that, the experts old brother Lei invited have not arrived yet. I estimate that there will be a total of 15 to 18 true masters, enough to fight for the hidden Luin space. At least we will be able to get the biggest share. Even if the 3 biggest powers of Shiron country act, we will still have the advantage. What needs to be discussed is how to split it. Should we follow the old rules or set a new one? The old rules were to split it according to the amount of effort and need." Old man Thunderstorm said, "I don't mind." Aslan said, "I'll give my share to Yao Yao." Yen Wu laughed. "Old aunt, you haven't even taken in a disciple, and you're already trying to please little sister?" Aslan and his father were good friends, so even if his cultivation was the same as Aslan's, he still had to call her old aunt. Aslan said, "What do you mean by please? Yao Yao is my baby." She hugged Xian Yao and giggled. "Yao Yao, are you my baby?" Xian Yao gave her face and said, "Yes, Granny Aslan." Aslan smiled. "Our Yao Yao is so sensible. Yao Yao, don't call me Granny in the future, call me Master, do you understand?" She started to entice the little girl, who knew that Xian Yao would not fall for it. She crisply said, "Yi said, Master is not to be casually called. Granny Aslan." Aslan was still not angry. She hugged Xian Yao and said, "Ayo, Yao Yao, why are you so smart? I like it." Anyways, whatever Xian Yao said, she liked it, making Thunderstorm and Lei Xingfeng speechless. Yen Wu laughed. "Little sister, come with me. I'll bring you to find an even more powerful master. How about it?" Aslan instantly exploded. "Yen Wu, you sure have guts, daring to poach my people." Without waiting for Yen Wu to speak, Xian Yao said, "I won't go with you. When Aslan heard this, she laughed. All her anger disappeared. Yenwu asked curiously why. Lei Xan Yao said, "Brother said not to go with strange men." Yenwu was choked speechless. Aslan laughed and said, that's right. We won't go with a stinky stranger." Xian Yao nodded vigorously. The old man Lei Bao said, "Old sis, are you serious?" Aslan said very seriously, "Of course, I'm absolutely serious. Don't worry, when Yao Yao comes to my place, I will do my best to nurture her. I will not let her suffer any grievances." Thunderstorm pondered for a moment and said, "She's still too young. How about we wait until she's 15? Lei Xingfeng also did not wish to let Yao Yao go now. He had brought her up single-handedly, and he was very reluctant to let her leave. However, he also knew that if Yao Yao followed Aslan, it would definitely be better than following him. He hesitated and did not know what to do. Aslan said sincerely, "You also know that if Yao Yao follows me now, there are many things she can learn. It will definitely be much better than when she's 15 or 16. Thunderstorm, of course, understood this. There were many benefits to being nurtured from a young age. Just like Lei Xingfeng, there were many times when he did not know the benefits of doing so. However, as long as he did it, when he started to train, the benefits would gradually appear. Let's talk about it later. Let's discuss how to split it first." Thunderstorm changed the topic. Yen Wu said, "Let's wait for everyone to arrive first. It seems a bit early to discuss this now. They should be here soon." Tai Lang thought about it and agreed. He said, "All right, let's not discuss this for now." He then said, "The location of the hidden Luan space. I already know. There are many people waiting there, but it's not time to come out yet." Yen Wu said, "Have we sent people?" Tai Lang said, "Yes, I've already sent a few small teams. They will report back as soon as they have any news." At this time, a Wan Luanshi came in. He walked to Tai Lang's side and whispered a few words in his ear. Tai Lang said, "What? How dare they?" Thunderstorm had already stood up. He said, "How many people came?" Lei Xingfeng raised his head and whispered, "What's wrong?" Aslan said, "Your people seem to have been attacked." Jean Depang immediately panicked. He stood up and said, "Who is it?" Shi Quan understood in his heart that the matter of them killing people was exposed. Hong Chen's face changed slightly. However, he was not very worried. The people here were extremely strong. There should not be too big of a problem. Tai Lang said in a low voice, "How many of them came?" That Wan Luanshi said, "There are 7 true masters, over 100 mill wheel masters, and many thousand Lin masters in Wan Luanshi." Tai Lang said, "How many sects are there?" That Wan Luanshi said, "More than 10 small sections. They're the ones that are training in our territory." They said, "Many of their disciples were killed." Tai Lang said, "What does their disciples being killed have to do with my guests? Fuck, let them in. They dare to detain my guest subordinates. How dare they?" He felt that he had lost face. Thunderstorm said indifferently, "If my people are hurt, brother, don't interfere." Tai Lang's heart went cold. He knew the old man Thunderstorm's temper and personality. This guy was someone who would pick on anyone who did not provoke him. Now, this group of people who did not know what was good for them actually came to provoke him. It was scary just thinking about it. Some people should not be provoked, and Thunderstorm was definitely one of them. "Brother, don't worry. I will handle it." Tai Lang had many connections with these small sections. He did not want Thunderstorm to make a move. Once he made a move, it would be hard to say how many of these people would be able to survive. Jean Depang could not wait any longer. This guy placed a lot of importance on his subordinates. Last time when 2 of them died, he was already furious. He said, "I will go take a look." Shi Quan and Hong Chun were also worried about their subordinates and said, "We will go too." Thunderstorm, of course, could not stay out of this. He said, "Let's go together." Although he was not the commander, his position was the highest, and his strength was also the strongest. Thus, his words still carried a lot of weight. Tai Lang said, "All right, let's go together." Saying so, he softly ordered his subordinates and brought everyone out. Very quickly, everyone arrived at the bridge of the river. The people of Stellar Night Fortress and the experts of the small sects were in standoff. Both sides did not give way to each other. The atmosphere was very tense. Jean de Pang's subordinates, Shi Quan's subordinates, and a few Santua beasts were all captured. A few thousand Lun masters and Wan Lun Shi were also tied up. A few of them were beaten black and blue. Tai Lang took the lead and separated the crowd. He walked to the bridge and saw the people who were tied up. His face immediately became gloomy and said, "Let them go." Lei Xingfeng followed. Lei Xingfeng was carried by Aslan. Lei Xingfeng noticed that there were many people on the other side. Among them, there were 7 people in the lead. Each of them had a stable qi and a rather terrifying qi. With one look, one could tell that they were people of power. Not only were their cultivations shocking, but they had also been in a high position for a long time. That kind of pressure was rather strong. Thunderstorm stood behind Tai Lang. It was not that he did not dare to go forward, but he had to give Tai Lang some face and let him handle it. If Tai Lang did not handle it well, then he would step out. Right now, he was not in a hurry to step out. This was also brought about by his recovery. After tens of years of training, his personality had become much more stable. He was no longer like a firecracker who would explode at the slightest touch. Tai Lang was also a little uneasy. He was afraid that Thunderstorm would not be able to control himself and attack. He had interacted with the old man Thunderstorm for a period of time before. During that period of time, he felt that it was abnormally exciting. A lot of things happened inexplicably. There were even practitioners who only glanced at Thunderstorm and revealed a trace of disdain. He could directly beat them half to death. As for those practitioners who provoked him, they did not even have a chance to live. But it was different this time. When Thunderstorm arrived at the scene, he did not say a word. He only squinted his eyes. No one knew what he was thinking about. This not only made Tai Lang feel relieved, even Yin Wu and Aslan felt relieved. They all knew that Thunderstorm had a bad temper. Who would have thought that after meeting him this time, this guy actually became much calmer? When the 7 true masters saw Tai Lang, their angry expressions softened. The leading old man said, "Brother Tai Lang, I am unable to release them for the time being." Tai Lang asked, "Why?" The old man said, "Because we lost 80 to 90 trial disciples. I suspect that it was them who did it." When he said this, Qi Quan, Hong Chun, and Jean de Pang looked at each other and let out a sigh of relief. Without concrete evidence, they did not care at all. In fact, even if there was concrete evidence, they would not care. However, that would cause a large-scale battle. Although Tai Lang did not know what happened, but when he heard that so many disciples died, he was shocked. However, he did not think that it was old Thunderstorm who did it. It was illogical. He thought that if these sects offended Thunderstorm, according to his temper, none of them would be able to live. Why would he come here to capture people? Yin Wu said in a low voice, "You suspect? You only suspect, and you dare to capture people?" The alliance of 20 small sects represented a very large force. Tai Lang felt a headache. Using force to suppress them was the worst-case scenario. Just as he was about to speak, his shoulder was lightly tapped by old Thunderstorm. Then, Thunderstorm took a few steps forward and walked in front of everyone. Old Thunderstorm said calmly, "Everyone slap themselves 10 times. Let go of my men, and I will spare your lives." The other party was stunned. Where did this crazy old man come from? Didn't he see that there were 7 true masters and countless experts here? These words were too much of a bully. Slap themselves 10 times? Who did this old man think he was? After a few breaths of time, the group of people suddenly burst into laughter. Someone said sarcastically, "Is this old man crazy?" Someone else said loudly, "Old man, slap yourself 100 times. Ha ha, I will spare your lives. Ha ha." Old Thunderstorm's lips curled into a sarcastic smile. Tai Lang and Yin Wu's mouth twitched. The two of them secretly cursed. They knew Thunderstorm's temper very well. When the old man revealed such a sarcastic smile, it meant that he was about to make a move. Chapter 67. The smile on Thunderstorm's face grew bigger and bigger. An overbearing aura suddenly spread out. Tai Long was complaining in his heart. He quickly went up and pulled Tai Long. He said softly, "Old brother Thunderstorm, this matter. Let me handle it. Hee hee, if I handle it." and you're not satisfied, then you can step up. How about that? He looked at Thunderstorm with a little unease. If Thunderstorm was still the same as before, he would have rejected without hesitation. This time, Thunderstorm didn't insist. He thought for a while and nodded. All right, I'll wait for you to handle it. Remember, don't let my people suffer. Yenwu looked at the old man with a little surprise. This time when he met Thunderstorm again, he noticed that the old man had obviously changed. Aslan also felt that it was a little strange. She obviously knew the old man's temper. She didn't expect Thunderstorm to be able to keep his composure. Tai Long immediately made his decision. No matter if the old man lay Bao's group killed or not, he had to side with them and suppress these small sects. So he said, "Which one of you saw them kill?" The 7 true masters were speechless because they used the desert hounds to follow them. They could only prove that this group came all the way here and all the training disciples along the way disappeared. No one saw this group kill. If this group's strength was average, then they wouldn't even need evidence. They could just kill them all and take revenge. But this group was in Stellar Night Fortress. They didn't dare to kill. They only dared to capture the people left outside. But they didn't expect that there were people from Stellar Night Fortress in the group. So they couldn't force a confession. Tai Long had already brought people over. Tai Long said, "Since you didn't see them kill, why did you capture them? Let them go immediately." Thunderstorm slightly probed the other party. He noticed that the strongest of the 7 was a true master with 3 true ring bodies. This strength was a terrifying force to normal cultivators. But to him, it was not worth mentioning, but this was already the top strength of more than 20 small sects. 7 true masters came out at once. It could be seen that this matter was taken seriously. This person who had condensed 3 true ring bodies was the Great Eagle Sect's Tang Shi, the Great Eagle Sect's intersect Grand Elder. This time, he was the leader. Tang Shi had a bad feeling. He was actually very familiar with Tai Long and could be considered Tai Long's friend. Of course, there were also differences between friends. His relationship with Tai Long was definitely not comparable to Elder Thunderstorm. He said, "Senior, Tai Long." He originally wanted to call him Brother Tai Long, but when he saw Tai Long's serious face, he changed it to Senior Tai Long, Senior Tai Lang. "We can't let them go. I need to interrogate them. If they aren't related to the murder, we will apologize and compensate." Tai Long cursed, "Bullshit." Even if Thunderstorm didn't agree to it, he wouldn't agree to it either. He knew what these people were capable of. Even if they didn't kill anyone, they could make them admit that they did. No one could resist the interrogation of a practitioner. It would be a fate worse than death. Tang Shi straightened his back and stared at Tai Long Sr. Tai Long waved his hand and said, "Don't King talk about interrogation. They aren't people you can interrogate. Unless you bring out the evidence of their murder, I can negotiate. But if you want to use force, I won't allow it." Tang Shi felt a burst of anxiety in his heart. If he could not find the murderer, then the entire alliance of the small sects would collapse. He had to find a murderer in order to quell everyone's anger, but Stellar Night Fortress was not something he could offend. He was helpless to the extreme. After thinking for a moment, he said, "We need to discuss this." Tai Long nodded. "All right, you guys discuss. But I hope there will be a result soon." Tang Shi brought the other 6 true masters and retreated to the other side of the bridge. The 7 of them started to discuss. Soon, the 7 of them started to quarrel. Thunderstorm crossed his arms and looked at them coldly. Jean Depang and Shiquan also looked cold. But Lei Xingfeng noticed that Jean Depang's eyes flashed with anger. Jean Depang was very smart. He knew that he wasn't strong enough. If Elder Thunderstorm and the others weren't here, he wouldn't be able to fight back. Even if he was a military officer of Shi Rong Nation, it would be useless. At this moment, Exine Feng deeply understood the benefits of having absolute strength in this world. It was a type of power that could suppress others. Tang Shi and the others quarreled for less than 10 minutes. He brought another 6 people over. He said, "I need to interrogate." Tai Long secretly sighed. He said, "The people in this group are my seniors. If you really want to interrogate, then as the host, I can't interfere too much. Then I won't ask anymore." He suddenly let go. He turned around and said, "Brother, do as you see fit." Thunderstorm nodded. "No problem, I'll do it." Tang Shi's heart suddenly turned cold. He braced himself and said, "Senior, if we made a mistake, we'll apologize and compensate." Thunderstorm said, "Aslan, you'll be responsible for Yao Yao and Feng's safety. Is that okay?" Aslan smiled. "Don't worry, I'll be responsible for the safety of these two children." She waved her hand and called Lei Xingfeng over. She carried Lei Xingyao and retreated a few steps. Thunderstorm said again, "Yin Wu, you don't have to do anything. Just protect my people. They aren't strong enough. In Shi Quan, Hong Chun, you don't have to do anything either. Just help Yin Wu." Yin Wu smiled. "Uncle, don't worry. I'm fine." Thunderstorm nodded. "Very good." He then said to Tang Shi, "Little guy, don't say that I'm overbearing. I'll give you one more chance. Let go of our people." Tang Shi's face turned green. This was too overbearing. He didn't even discuss with them and directly asked to let them go. He gritted his teeth and said, "We can't let them go without an answer." He was determined to be tough to the end. He believed that the old man Thunderstorm wouldn't dare to do anything. Facing the alliance of 20 small sects, he believed that even if Thunderstorm was a senior, he wouldn't dare to do anything. It was a pity that he didn't know Thunderstorm's temper. He also didn't know how powerful Thunderstorm was. Thunderstorm smiled. "Interesting. If I said this a few decades ago, no one would dare to refute me. Now, not only do people dare to refute me, I even have the patience to ask repeatedly. AI, I'm old. I'm old." The surroundings were silent. Everyone silently looked at the old man, Thunderstorm. Only Tai Long, Aslan, and Yin Wu's hearts were in their mouths. Even if they were experts with 4 or 5 true ring bodies, they still felt a chill down their spines. It was the first time that Lei Xingfeng saw Yi acting like this. He was very curious. He had never seen Yi acting so strangely. That kind of feeling, it was a bit like the world is changing too fast. "I can't keep up anymore." Tang sure wanted to say something, but he suddenly realized that the old man Thunderstorm had risen into the sky. His heart almost stopped beating. He suddenly understood and couldn't help but shout, "Stop!" But it was already too late. The old man Thunderstorm was like a flash of lightning as he killed his way to the other side of the river. He directly crashed into the crowd of cultivators below the true master level. In an instant, countless lightning danced and crackled. In an instant, hundreds of people fell to the ground. The scariest thing wasn't the twitching people on the ground, but the captives who were tied up. They were completely fine. Although they were tied up, they were still standing. The jumping lightning spread rapidly. The people on the other side of the bridge only saw a glaring light flashing in front of them and heard a series of screams. Tang Shi led the other true masters and rushed over the bridge. His heart was cold. Before the old man Thunderstorm made his move, he only felt that this old man was unfathomable. But when the old man made his move, he was completely shocked, because the old man flew into the sky. This meant that the old man was at least an expert with 6 true ring bodies. Even some big sects might not have an expert of this level. It was too shocking. A true master with 6 true ring bodies was called a true Een master. If it was a true Een master with 7 true ring bodies, then it would be a true mad Een master. They were all terrifying existences. And the old man Thunderstorm was at least a true Een master or even a true mad Een master. How could they fight? His face was pale with regret. He actually provoked such an expert. It wasn't an exaggeration to say that he was courting death. No wonder Tai Long tried his best to stop him. Not to mention Tang Shi, even Tai Long couldn't. Tang Shi was a hoodlum. He shouted, "Senior, stop. We admit defeat. Stop." The old man Thunderstorm shouted, "Do you think I'll stop just because you told me to?" Saying that, he rushed towards the 7 people. Tang Shi didn't dare to fight back. The 7 of them stood still. At this time, Tai Long had no choice but to go up and stop him. "Brother, brother, they admit defeat." Only then did the old man Thunderstorm stop. He said, "You don't know what's good for you. You only admit defeat when I make a move. A bunch of idiots." Tang Shi was sweating profusely. He wanted to cry, but no tears came out. This old man was too abnormal. Who knew that he had such terrifying strength? He watched as the thick electric arc almost hit him. Only after Tai Long shouted did it disappear. The ground was filled with twitching practitioners. This time, the old man Thunderstorm held back. He didn't kill anyone. They were all knocked down by the electric arc. After all, he knew that because of a misunderstanding, he killed so many people. If he killed them all this time, it would be too much. Tang Shi's eyesight wasn't bad. He only took a glance and knew that the old man held back. If not, even if he killed them all, he wouldn't be able to take revenge. The opponent was too strong, to the point that it made people despair. Tang Shi and the others understood that even if the death of the previous disciples was related to this team, they wouldn't be able to take revenge. Moreover, this was the first time they thought that it would be best if they weren't related. Even if they were, they would find a way to deny it. In other words, these people didn't kill their disciples. Even if they killed them, they would pretend that they didn't kill them. Thunderstorm despised these people. According to his temper, these people were all *king cowards. He said, "Remember, apologize to my subordinates and compensate them." Chapter 68. Tai Long laughed bitterly. Words were useless. They had to wait for Thunderstorm to make a move before they gave in. These people were *king candles. They couldn't be lit unless they were lit. Thunderstorm said, "Fatty, you stay and deal with it. Remember, if you're not satisfied, tell me. Understand?" Jean Depang only felt one word: awesome. Awesome to the bone. 7 true masters, yet they didn't even have the courage to fight. He couldn't believe his eyes. This was too exaggerated. All the true masters he had met before were all arrogant. He didn't expect that there would be times when a true master would be a coward. Yes, Elder." He rushed out excitedly. Thunderstorm said, "Let's go, we're going back." This matter was resolved by Lei Bao with his overwhelming strength, and it did not cause the slightest ripple. Tang Shi and the others sincerely apologized and compensated with a lot of gold rings. Jean Depang didn't ask for anything from them. He understood that they had killed their way here. Even though it was a misunderstanding, they had still killed people. Thus, he didn't want to cause more trouble and just let it go. Elder Thunderstorm and the others temporarily stayed in Stellar Night Fortress. Lei Xingfeng liked the umbrella-shaped night fortress the most. Only on that night did he understand why it was called Night Fortress. When night fell, the starlight and the candlelight in the fortress intertwined. It was definitely a rare sight. Since he was Thunderstorm's grandson, he had the right to stay in the wooden building in the middle of Night Fortress. Moreover, he stayed in a room on the 3rd floor. As for Lei Xianyao, she was always by Aslan's side. Perhaps Lei Xianyao had never experienced such meticulous and loving care before. Aslan simply wanted to pamper Lei Xianyao to the heavens. She was a treasure to the extreme. Lei Xianyao was not used to it at the start, but in the end, she enjoyed it. Very quickly, she started calling Aslan master. She was only a little girl and had never seen such deliberate pleasing and pampering. She quickly became familiar with Aslan. Because Lei Xianyao liked to be with Lei Xingfeng, she would always go to her brother's room. Of course, Aslan followed closely. In just a few days, not only did Lei Xianyao and Aslan become closer, even Lei Xingfeng and Aslan became familiar with each other. The two often chatted together. Using this chance, Xianfeng asked a few questions about cultivation. Every true master expert had their own set of things, as well as their experience in the outside world, the local customs, the famous sects and sects of the continent, as well as the influence of each region. All of these were things Xianfeng asked about. Aslan also noticed the influence Lei Xingfeng had on Lei Xianyao. She also saw the little girl's attachment to her brother. Later, she found out that Lei Xianyao was brought up by Lei Xingfeng. Ever since she was weaned, he had always taken care of Lei Xianyao. The two of them had a very close relationship. Lei Xingfeng was like a substitute for a parent. When Aslan understood this, she became more and more polite to Lei Xingfeng. Adding on Lei Xingfeng's mature and meticulous thinking, she had a very good impression of the two siblings. Aslan was proficient in making medicine. She had reached the level of a master in the use of various plants and animals' blood essence. She had also reached the level of a master. Intentionally or unintentionally, she began to impart this knowledge. Of course, her goal was to attract late Xin Yao's interest. In the end, it was Lei Xingfeng who was more interested. Lei Xingfeng was a child, so it was hard for her to be interested in this kind of thing. However, it was different for Lei Xingfeng. He knew the importance of this kind of knowledge, so once he came into contact with it, he began to ask for guidance. It was a pity that he did not have the Greenland attribute. Even if he learned the knowledge of making medicine, he would not be able to reach the level of a master. However, even so, Lei Xingfeng continued to learn. This made Aslan sigh. She had seen many 10-year-old children who only knew how to play but were unwilling to study seriously. There were very few children like Lei Xingfeng who would take the initiative to learn. This knowledge of making medicine opened Lei Xingfeng's eyes. This was completely different from the medicine of his previous life. Although he could not make high-level medicine, he could make simple ones. The most important knowledge for him was to differentiate between useful plants, minerals, animals, blood, and all kinds of strange things. There were many things that if one did not learn the relevant knowledge, they would not even know were useful. Especially rare plants, animal blood, precious ores, and high-level purification methods. Even if he learned these, it was already worth it. Aslan was very attentive in her teaching. She even gave Lei Xingfeng a piece of star python skin that she had recorded all kinds of materials. She hoped that Lei Xingfeng could see her hard work. She was not only good to the little girl, she was also good to her brother. Lei Xingyao was very smart, and a child's mind was very pure. She could feel who was good to her and who was hostile. Aslan's efforts were not in vain. Lei Xingyao gradually accepted her, which made Aslan very happy. For 10 consecutive days, Lei Xingfeng and Lei Xingyao did not leave the house. The main reason was that Lei Xingfeng did not want to leave the house. He was working hard to learn new knowledge. The old man Thunderstorm was very happy. He even specially came to thank Aslan for this. Aslan also gave Lei Xingfeng 10 high-level medicines. They were mainly used for healing. These medicines were very precious and could be used to save lives at crucial times. In this period of time, Stellar Night Fortress also welcomed a few true masters. They were all Old Man Thunderstorm's friends. One of them was a middle-aged man who was actually a true master who had condensed 6 true ring bodies. The fire wheel attribute was the most common attribute in this world. However, it was rare to see someone who had cultivated it to the level of a true master. The fire wheel attribute's attack power was very strong. Especially when it reached a high level, it could be used to its fullest potential. This person was called Galu. He was a red-faced man with a head of rarely seen fiery red hair. It was said that he used to be like a normal person with a head of black hair. However, after condensing 4 true ring bodies, his hair started to change, from brown hair to fiery red hair, and after condensing 6 true ring bodies, even his eyebrows became red. There were also 2 other experts with 4 true ring bodies. They were both very old women. One was called Nyadin, and the other was called Tai Popo. Although Nyadin's appearance was old, she was dressed very flirtatiously. Her face was covered with a thick layer of white powder. This was the first time Lei Xingyao saw her. She immediately hid in Aslan's embrace and did not dare to show her face. This was because this woman had laughed at her. That blood-red mouth had scared the little girl. Tai Popo was also dressed strangely. On a hot day, she wore a set of precious fur. It was said that she came from an extremely cold place. Her entire body was filled with yin qi. Even though this place was close to the desert, it could not hide the coldness. The 3 of them were all strange people. This made Lei Xingfeng feel strange. What kind of friends did I make? None of them were normal. Only Tai Long, Yin Wu, and Aslan were normal. These few days, Lei Xingfeng had been targeted by Nyadin. Ever since she discovered that Lei Xingfeng had a single lightning attribute, Luan Mark, she started to pester Thunderstorm, wanting to take Lei Xingfeng away. This angered the old man so much that he scolded her. However, this woman's skin was extremely thick. She did not care at all. She kept moving in front of Lei Xingfeng, talking nonstop, showing off all kinds of strange items in an attempt to attract Lei Xingfeng's attention. This made Lei Xingfeng afraid. He had beside Aslan in his eyes, and Yaden was a madwoman. She was also not a lightning attribute practitioner. It was said that one of her martial uncles was a lightning attribute expert. This caused a thunderstorm to have no choice but to warn Yaden not to disturb Lei Xingfeng. And Yaden could not beat the old man thunderstorm. She could only temporarily stop her harassment. According to her, Lei Xingfeng would one day know how powerful her martial uncle was. At that time, he would come and beg her. Lei Xingfeng could not be bothered with this woman. He made use of his time and stayed by Aslan's side, studying hard. Lei Xingfeng seemed to understand her brother's anxious feelings. Hence, she started to curry favor with Aslan. She acted coquettishly and acted cute, causing Aslan to have no resistance at all. She imparted everything that she could teach to Lei Xingfeng. As for how much Lei Xingfeng could understand and learn, that would depend on Lei Xingfeng's comprehension ability. Today, Tai Long gathered everyone to the wooden house in the middle of night stronghold. Lei Xingfeng and Lei Xingyao also followed Aslan. In a huge living room, there were 2 rows of tables and chairs. Everyone sat down. Lei Xingfeng sat behind the old man, Thunderstorm. Lei Xingyao was still carried by Aslan. During this period of time, Lei Xingfeng had gotten used to being carried by Aslan. Tai Long said, "There's news. Let's discuss when we should depart." The old man, Thunderstorm, said, "Has a hidden Luin space appeared?" Tai Long said, "It has already appeared. Many people have already rushed over. However, up until now, we haven't found a decent expert." The old man, Thunderstorm, said, "Experts will appear. Let's see if this hidden Luin space has any value. I hope that it's an ancient hidden Luin space. Only then will there be truly good things. It's really worth looking forward to. It's been a long time since a decent hidden Luin space appeared." Tai Long said, "That's right. In the past few decades, I've heard of many hidden Luin spaces appearing. However, most of them didn't find anything. I hope this time it will give us a surprise." Everyone discussed fervently. Everyone knew the value of an ancient hidden Luin space. If they were to find something special, it would be of great help to their training. No practitioner could resist the temptation of a hidden Luin space. There were too many strange things that appeared inside, especially things that didn't belong to this era. There were also ancient training methods that might not be suitable, but it didn't stop them from absorbing useful information. However, once an ancient hidden Luin space appeared, it would immediately attract large amounts of high-level practitioners. If there weren't high-level practitioners leading the way, low-level practitioners wouldn't be able to obtain anything. They might even lose their lives because of it. Tai Long said, "I also received a piece of news that everyone might be interested in." The old man Thunderstorm said, "What news?" Chapter 69. A smile appeared on Tai Long's face as he said, "The hidden Luin space was supposed to appear 2 months later, but after careful observation, it might appear in the next 10 days, which means we are the closest group." The closer they were, the more chances they had, and with the gathering of Old Man Thunderstorm, they had a huge advantage and were incomparably strong. Gulu said, "Since it's like this, let's prepare and set off as soon as possible." Thunderstorm also agreed, and the first group to succeed will definitely have the greatest rewards, but also the greatest danger. All right, let's set off early. Since there were many experts coming this time, Tai Long didn't bring many people. His base still needed experts to guard it, and they couldn't all leave, so he only brought a few Millwheel drivers and 1 Luin Shur, mainly to transport supplies. Practitioners rarely put things like food into the hidden Luin space, unless it was a special situation. To practitioners, the hidden Luin space was a gift from the heavens. They definitely wouldn't put random things in it. Of course, Lei Xingfeng never had this concept. He felt that the hidden Luin space was a moving warehouse. It was best used to transport supplies. The only thing that gave him a headache was that Wan Luin Shur's hidden Luin space was too small. If he put too much food, the space wouldn't be enough. The people going this time were mostly true masters. The others like Jin Depang, Yin, and Lei Xingfeng were also mixed in the group. As for Lei Xingyao, she was entrusted to Tai Long by Thunderstorm and stayed in Stellar Night Fortress. Aslan was worried and gave up this rare opportunity to stay in the fortress. She didn't want anything to happen to Lei Xingyao, and just because of this, Lei Xingfeng approved of her. It wasn't that he didn't want to bring Lei Xingyao along, but that place was too dangerous, and Lei Xingyao hadn't trained yet. She was still young. If something happened, no matter if it was Thunderstorm or Lei Xingfeng, they wouldn't be able to take it. Luckily, Aslan took the initiative to stay, allowing Thunderstorm and Lei Xingfeng to be at ease. The hidden Luin space appeared in the desert from Stellar Night Fortress. One needed to pass through a Luin point. Using the ancient Luin passage could save a portion of the journey. Thus, they only needed 10 days to reach their destination. On the endless sand dunes, Tai Long and his group brought dozens of sand tuob beasts with them. Most of them were water bags. The desert lacked water the most. Large amounts of water were consumed every day. Of course, if there was no water, cultivators could still condense water. For example, Tai Popo was an ice-wool-type cultivator. However, unless it was a last resort, it was impossible to ask an expert with 4 true ring bodies to do such a simple task. Xian Feng sat on the back of the sand tuob beast. The scorching sun made him feel extremely uncomfortable. He glanced at Tai Popo from time to time. He couldn't imagine that even at this place, Tai Popo was still covered in thick fur. She didn't even have a single drop of sweat. As long as one got close to her, they would be able to feel a wave of cold air, causing a faint mist to float around her, giving off an extremely strange feeling. And Yaden would occasionally go to Lei Xingfeng's side, taking the opportunity to talk to him. She still hadn't given up. After these few days of contact, Lei Xingfeng realized that Yaden didn't have any ill intentions, and gradually he stopped avoiding her. Thousand Sand Barrier. This was the place where the hidden Luin space appeared. The climate here was complex. There would often be extreme weather like sandstorms. Even the desert barbarians didn't dare to come to the Thousand Sand Barrier. Those who could reach here were practitioners, and high-level practitioners. To normal people, this place was a dangerous place. Once they entered, they wouldn't be able to come out. After entering the Thousand Sand Barrier, the temperature rose sharply. Lei Xingfeng noticed Tai Popo. Her originally pale and cold face actually had a tinge of red. According to Lei Xingfeng's estimation, the temperature now was at least 60 to 70 degrees. The group had no choice but to activate their protection to resist the hot weather. Lei Xingfeng activated his ring armor and immediately felt much cooler. In the group, many people who trained in Huolunli had a comfortable expression on their faces. Those with the Huolunli attribute were very suited to this place. Actually, this place was more suitable for those with the light attribute, just that there were very few practitioners with the light attribute, even rarer than those with the lightning attribute. Luckily, there weren't any normal people in the group. Just this temperature alone was enough to kill a normal person after a while. Lei Xingfeng sat on the sand tuob beast, his gaze sweeping around. In fact, other than the sand dunes, there was nothing else. The sand dunes were warped by the heat flow, a piece of gold, a piece of fire, without a trace of green, extremely monotonous. Suddenly, Lei Xingfeng exclaimed, "Damn! See Market Lip Pavilion." And Yaden was not far from Lei Xingfeng. She was also riding on a sand tuob beast. Hearing this, she asked, "What's a sea market lip pavilion?" This world didn't have the concept of a sea market lip pavilion. The so-called sea market lip pavilion was the refraction of light from afar, appearing in mid-air, on the sea surface, and in the desert. Lei Xingfeng didn't really see a sea market lip pavilion in his previous life. But in his previous life, all kinds of information were sent explosively. He could easily obtain countless knowledge. It was different here. The knowledge here was passed down by word of mouth. Only practitioners had their own writing system and recording methods. Lei Xingfeng stared blankly at the scene in midair. Only he found that this sea market lip pavilion was very blurry. He couldn't see clearly what it was. Tai Lang happily said, "Haha, it's here. It's really the sign of a hidden Luin space." "Old brother Lei, old brother Gulu, can you tell what kind of hidden Luin space it is?" "It's too big. I've never seen such a big shadow. It's a pity it's too blurry." Thunderstorm and Gulu stared into the distance. After a while, both of them shook their heads. expressing that they couldn't see clearly. And Yadin said, "Let's go take a look." Lei Xingfeng thought to himself, if it was a sea market-lit pavilion, then they would never be able to reach there, because it wasn't a real scene, it was a refraction of images. The team walked towards the strange scene in midair. As they moved forward, Lei Xingfeng shockingly found that the scene was getting bigger and clearer. He suddenly understood some of the phenomena in this world couldn't be explained by the knowledge of his previous life. The scene in front of them was definitely not a sea market-lit pavilion. "There's someone," the person who went to scout ahead reported. Tai Lang asked, "Who? How many people?" That person said, "There's a dozen people. There's also 50 San-Tua beasts. They're also walking forward." Tai Lang nodded. He knew that the people who could reach here must be practitioners. They must be people trying to obtain the hidden Lun space. He said, "Continue to monitor. We'll continue forward. Ignore those people for now." Yin Wu said, "I'll go take a look. If there's a conflict, we won't know anything." Tai Lang said, "That's good. I hope it's Naughty Dayton, but I don't think he's that fast." Yin Wu rode on the San-Tua beast, bringing 2 mill wheel masters with him. He was strong enough to protect himself and his subordinates. Seeing the 3 of them leave, the others continued on their way. Lei Xingfeng said, "Grandma Dan, can you tell what kind of hidden Lun space this is?" And Yadin said, "Don't call me Grandma Dan, call me Great-Grandma Dan." Lei Xingfeng couldn't help but smile bitterly, thinking, "Great-Grandma Dan? That's too fucking ugly, sigh. This woman is definitely not normal." He said helplessly, "All right, Great-Grandma Dan." And Yadin immediately became happy, saying, "That's right, a phone. Even your grandpa can't tell what kind of hidden Lun space it is. How can I?" Lei Xingfeng said, "Great-Grandma Dan, what kind of hidden Lun space do you hope it is?" He was bored, so he could only talk nonsense with Yadin. And Yadin said, "Of course I hope it's an ancient hidden Lun space, and the higher level the better. And it'd be best if there are countless treasures inside. Haha. Then I'll be rich." Once she laughed, wrinkles would appear on her face. Luckily, Lei Xingfeng was looking afar and didn't notice. The higher the level of the hidden Lun space, the more powerful the dead cultivator was. No one could live forever, but ancient cultivators could live for 1,000 years, or even a few thousand years. It wasn't hard for them to live for 1,000 years, unlike now. It was really rare for people to live for 1,000 years. The hidden Lun space left behind by the ancient practitioners is a treasure that all modern practitioners want to get. Who knows what kind of strange treasures are inside? This kind of hidden Lun space, to practitioners, is a fatal attraction, even if they don't hesitate to kill. Even with Old Man Thunderstorm's strength, he didn't dare to come alone. He had to invite a group of strong friends. A lone traveler is definitely looking for death. Once they found something of value, they would definitely be besieged by countless cultivators. Moreover, they would be besieged by high-level cultivators. Lei Bao was well aware of this. He had once relied on his powerful strength and thought that he could act alone. In the end, he was beaten to the point where he had to flee like a rat. If it wasn't for the fact that he was really strong and that he was a lightning-type cultivator, he would have been done for. Very quickly, Yin Wu came back, saying, "A bunch of brats, the strongest is only a true master with 3 true ring bodies. Haha. What a joke. I think if they get close, someone will attack them." Thunderstorm laughed. "Don't be surprised. I think they don't even know the cruelty of seizing an ancient hidden Lun space. It's good to let them experience it," he said with a bit of schadenfreude. Lei Xingfeng couldn't imagine how to get this ancient hidden Lun space. Just the image in the air was more than 10 kilometers long. From everyone's discussion, he knew this kind of sign. It's almost certain that this hidden Lun space is very precious. Normally, a few hundred meters long blurry image means a good hidden Lun space, and this one was unusually big. None of them have seen it before. As they got closer, everyone became more and more excited. Even Thunderstorm, Galu, and Tai Long showed a happy expression. Chapter 70. Xian Feng noticed that we had already reached the bottom of the gigantic image. He could now deduce that the image was indeed a reflection of light, but as for how it was reflected and where it was, he couldn't understand it. Furthermore, he still couldn't see what the image was. As it was too close, the image had turned into a large expanse of colored light, making it impossible for him to piece together the image. Thunderstorm calculated silently for a moment and said, "Are you guys done?" After a moment, Tai Popo said, 100 meters in front is the best position. Gula smiled. "Don't ask me. I don't know how to calculate such things." Tai Lang said, "More or less. I'm leaning towards the south by a little." Lei Xingfeng asked curiously, "Great-Grandma Dan, what are they calculating?" And Yadin said, "They are calculating the best entry point. Once we occupy that point, we will become the target of everyone. There will probably be a lot of killing. As for the people who come, if they aren't as strong as us, then we will be able to obtain the greatest benefits." Very quickly, Thunderstorm and Tai Lang determined the best position. Tai Lang ordered, "Immediately occupy this place. No matter who comes, beat them out." At this time, they definitely couldn't be humble. Unless the opponent had a stronger method than them, they wouldn't avoid it. Thunderstorm waved his hand. "A phone, come to me." He had to protect Lei Xingfeng. The reason why he let Lei Xingfeng follow was to let him gain more knowledge. Lei Xingfeng understood his painstaking efforts. With the support of such an elder, other cultivators couldn't compare to him. He would be able to obtain more resources, more opportunities to learn, and more knowledge. These things would have a great effect on his growth. The confirmed point was a small sand dune. Under Tai Lang's orders, they quickly surrounded the sand dune with Santua beasts. Anyone who dared to enter this area would be killed by them. Tai Lang quickly ordered his men to set up a tall tent. This tent was also in the shape of an umbrella and was transparent on all four sides. If necessary, there would be thick curtains hanging down on all four sides to block the wind and sand. A thick carpet was laid on the ground to isolate the scorching hot sand. Lei Xingfeng didn't use his ring armor to insulate the sand. Luckily, after the tent was set up, it gradually cooled down in half an hour. Of course, the temperature was still around 40 degrees, but it was much better than the 70 to 80 degrees outside. The hot weather made Lei Xingfeng feel tired. He silently took a sip of water and couldn't help but smile. "This water is boiling hot." Tai Popo did not make a sound as she reached out and took the water bag from Exine Feng's hand, stroking it a few times with her palm before passing it to Exine Feng. Exine Feng was shocked to find that the water in his water bag had already become ice cold, as if it had just been frozen. He couldn't help but drink mouthful after mouthful of water, fiercely exhaling a breath of cold air. "Thank you, Tai Popo." Tai Popo smiled and nodded without saying anything. These experts were very friendly to Lei Xingfeng. Of course, it was because of his relationship with Elder Thunderstorm. It was also because he had reached one Luan Shi at such a young age. With such a genius potential, they were all experienced people. They didn't mind showing goodwill to Lei Xingfeng. It was also a type of investment, and Yadin curled her lips. She flipped her wrist and took out a bucket of ice. "Put it beside you. It will be much more comfortable." Lei Xingfeng took out a big water sack and put the ice in it. After a while, he poured a big glass of ice water for everyone. When he passed the ice water to Tai Lang, he asked, "Grandpa Tai Lang, how long do we have to wait?" Tai Lang smiled. "I don't know either. Maybe 2 days, maybe a month. We have to wait for the power binding the hidden Luan space to disappear. Then we can enter." Lei Xingfeng said, "If we can't enter now, there will be more and more people. This place will really become a battlefield. Do we have the confidence to defeat everyone?" He wasn't stupid. He knew that this was the key to entering. This was the target. Thunderstorm said, "A phone, don't worry. It will take at least 1 to 3 years for this news to spread. We are close. Even if there are experts who can come, it will be limited. We have enough strength here. But even if we are strong, we will have to fight until the hidden Luan space opens." Tai Lang smiled. "You can observe carefully. It will be beneficial for your training and battle." Lei Xingfeng nodded. "Okay. I.e., be careful." Actually, what he hoped for the most was to be able to live peacefully in this world. He didn't want to have so many battles. But after witnessing the cruelty of this world, he forced himself to become strong. Tai Lang assigned the shift order. Lei Xingfeng also received his mission. Everyone was no exception. Jean Depang's mission was the simplest. He was responsible for everyone's cooking. This was everyone's opinion. This fatty's cooking was top-notch. It tasted great. Everyone who ate his food would have a strong impression of it. Lei Xingfeng received a better time slot. It was from sunset to midnight, which was the first half of the night shift. Jean Depang liked to bring a box of food for Lei Xingfeng after he finished cooking dinner. Then he would sit beside him. The two of them would chat from time to time. They would watch the sunset and the moving figures in the distance. 6 days passed. Not a single cultivator team came to fight for this place. Every time they saw a team from afar, they would watch them leave. Jean Depang looked at the moving figures in the distance and said with a smile, "That's strange. Why didn't they come?" Lei Xingfeng said, "Yeah, I don't know either. These days, at least 6 or 7 teams have passed by. None of them stopped to fight for this place." Yanwu walked over and said, "Do you know the reason?" "Hee, I know the reason." Jean Depang asked curiously, "What's the reason?" Yanwu said, "The answer is very simple." He revealed a mocking smile and said, "Because they don't know how to calculate. They don't know that this is the best place to wait." Lei Xingfeng said, "I see. Then, if a team came to fight for this place, it means that there is an expert in their team. Or rather, there is an expert in calculation." Yanwu was a little surprised. He smiled and said, "Not bad, Feng. You have a fast reaction." Jean Depang slapped his thigh and said, "That's right. No wonder they avoided us the moment they saw us. They don't know. According to a Feng, if they can calculate the best place, this place won't be peaceful anymore." Lei Xingfeng said, "Hee, at that time, we will be able to see high-level battles." He was curious. He had experienced many battles, but he had never seen a battle of life and death at the enlightened master level. He was actually very curious. He didn't know how the real experts of this world fought. Jean Depang nodded repeatedly. Not to mention Lei Xingfeng. He had never seen one either. The most he saw was a battle between beginner cultivators and barbarians, or a battle between low-level cultivators. He also wanted to see a real battle between high-level cultivators. It would be very beneficial for his cultivation. It would also be very beneficial for his future battles. Yanwu smiled and said, "You guys don't understand. A battle between low-level cultivators is actually more brutal. A battle between high-level cultivators and enlightened masters is actually less brutal." Lei Xingfeng said, "How is that possible? I feel that a battle between enlightened masters is even more intense." Yanwu said, "In terms of intensity, of course, is not something a beginner cultivator can compare to. A battle between enlightened masters is very loud, but it has nothing to do with cruelty." Lei Xingfeng said thoughtfully, Maybe I will understand after seeing it." Yanwu said, "Once you see more, you'll understand. Furthermore, it'll be extremely beneficial for your future growth. You'll know which areas you should strengthen and which areas you shouldn't pursue." Many cultivators may not even see a battle between experts in their entire lives. Lei Xingfeng said with a smile, "I think this time I will definitely be able to see a battle between experts." Although it was very quiet at this time, there was a feeling that a storm was coming, making Lei Xingfeng feel very depressed. The sky was completely dark. Jean Depang smiled and said, "Hurry up and eat." Lei Xingfeng opened the lid of the lunchbox. It was filled with barbecued meat. Jean Depang gave him a few pieces of flatbread. Lei Xingfeng ate with big bites. It had to be said that Jean Depang's cooking was indeed amazing. The taste was very good. In fact, Lei Xingfeng's cooking was also not bad, but compared to Jean Depang's, it was much worse. After wolfing down the flatbread and meat, Lei Xingfeng wiped his mouth and praised, "Depang, with you accompanying me, I will definitely not have to worry about food and drink." Jean Depang laughed and said, "Apart from cultivation, my biggest hobby is my mouth. Living in this world, to be able to eat all kinds of delicacies, this life is worth it." Lei Xingfeng joked, "Oh, so you're saying that the reason you cultivate is to find more delicacies?" Jean Depang nodded seriously and said, "After cultivating, it will be easier for me to earn money. Also, if I can cultivate to the level of Taoist master, my lifespan will be longer than normal people. Only then will I be able to eat more delicacies, right? Yin Wu was shocked by his ambition. He asked, "You're cultivating to eat?" Jean Depang said as if it was a matter of course. Of course. Lei Xingfeng and Yin Wu were speechless. This guy was also a rare weirdo to actually have such thoughts. The next morning, Lei Xingfeng walked out of the tent. The desert was not hot in the morning and was even a little cold. When the sun rose, the desert quickly became a large furnace. Tai Long was on duty for the second half of the night, and his shift was in the morning. Elder Thunderstorm was in charge of the morning. From afar, a group of people was walking toward them. Thunderstorm, Tai Long, Yin Wu, and the others all quietly watched. They all knew that someone would come sooner or later. Lei Xingfeng stared at the people coming from afar. Jean Depang was right beside him. He said, "I hope they are just passing by." Chapter 71. This team was huge. There were at least 200 people. While Tai Long's team had at most 30 people, the difference in numbers was huge. Because of this, Tai Long, Thunderstorm, Gulu, Yin Wu, and the other experts were more relaxed. Having more people didn't mean more experts. Tai Long suddenly said, "It's the Scorpion Alliance." He didn't expect so many people from the Scorpion Alliance to come. The Scorpion Alliance was one of the three major powers in Shirong Land. They were quite strong. Tai Long had some reservations. Thunderstorm said, "Scorpion Alliance?" He wasn't too sure about the distribution of powers in Shirong Land. Tai Long said, "Scorpion Alliance, one of the three major powers in Shirong Land. They are quite strong, but I wonder who came this time." He was also one of the powers in Shirong Land, but he wasn't as strong as the Scorpion Alliance. In terms of experts, there was Thunderstorm and Gulu. Their high-level power wasn't weak at all. They were even stronger, but Tai Long still had some reservations. Old Man Thunderstorm and the others were outsiders. They weren't from Tai Long Night Fortress. Once they finished the mission of dividing the Hidden Lune space, they would definitely leave. At that time, Tai Long's power would definitely not be as strong as the Scorpion Alliance. That was why he had reservations. Gula laughed. "Scorpion Alliance, one of the three major powers in Shirong Land. They aren't much. If they piss me off, I'll teach them a lesson." His temper was also quite irritable, but it was much worse than Old Man Thunderstorm's temper in the past. Tai Long sighed. He didn't say anything. Old Man Thunderstorm patted his shoulder in understanding and said, "Don't worry. We won't take the initiative to cause trouble. But if they provoke us, I suggest you replace them. As long as you get rid of the higher-ups of the Scorpion Alliance, they won't be a threat anymore." Yin Wu laughed. "That's right. I like this idea." Lei Xingfeng was speechless. These old men were all ruthless characters. None of them were easy to deal with. Tai Long seemed to be very familiar with the Poison Scorpion Alliance. He said, "Eliminating the upper echelons of the Poison Scorpion Alliance. With just a few of us, it is indeed possible. However, the problem is that not all of their upper echelons will be mobilized. The most powerful force will definitely be stationed within the Poison Scorpion Alliance. I reckon that the upper echelons that can come this time will be limited. It is very likely that they will invite other experts to participate." Old Man Thunderstorm laughed. "This doesn't seem like Tai Long's personality. When have you ever been afraid?" Tai Long smiled bitterly and said, "In the past, I could eat my fill and not have to worry about the whole family. Now, if I want to protect ordinary people, there are too many things I have to worry about. I can't do as I please." Yin Wu agreed. "That's right. Having a family to feed is the most troublesome. Just like my old man, he rarely goes out and hides in the sect to train. He has to worry about this and that. It's not fun at all. I'm too lazy to stay in the sect. It's better for me to come out and have fun." The Poison Scorpion Alliance was led by 2 sage with 5 true ring bodies. In Shirong Land, 1 sage with 5 true ring bodies was enough to support a large sect. The Poison Scorpion Alliance sent out 2 of these sages at once. They felt that it was more than enough. Moreover, there were 6 or 7 sages coming together. Although they didn't have 5 true ring bodies, there were still 2 or 3 true ring bodies. Their strength was definitely high. Tai Long sighed again and said, "Old brother, let's go and welcome them together." Thunderstorm pulled him back and said, "No need, they will come." He was a bit unhappy with Tai Long's attitude. He felt that Tai Long was a bit weak. Gulu said, "Old brother Tai Long, you go back first, we will do it." Tai Long's expression froze. He said, "It's okay. I will do it, don't worry." He knew that his attitude made his companions unhappy, but thinking about it, he couldn't be weak at this time. Being weak at this time meant that he would lose some power and benefits. The group stopped 100 meters away. 5 people flew out from the group. The 2 in the lead were Poison Scorpion Alliance's 5 true ring bodies experts. With 5 true ring bodies, they were called True Treasure Lun Een Masters. They were just 1 step away from Eenly. Although it was a level lower than true ring bodies, it was still a huge threshold. Once they reached true ring bodies, their strength would be on a completely different level. They were still Lun Eenly, 1 level lower than Eenly. Lun Eenly was 1 level higher than Lunly and 1 level lower than Eenly. Once they reached true Een, the Lun Eenly in their body would transform into Eenly. Their strength would increase greatly. Tai Long stepped forward and said, "DeLong, Ai Shibo, this is my camp." Thunderstorm secretly shook his head. He didn't know why Tai Long was so wary of the other party. His words had a hint of weakness. Gulu was also very unhappy. He immediately stepped forward and said, "Stop. This place isn't somewhere you can come." Saying that, he released his own unique pressure. An earth-shattering aura surged out, directly crushing over. With his true ring body and true Een master strength, he was showing off his power. DeLong and Ai Shibo's expression changed. They originally thought that this was a small power and wanted to chase them away. They didn't expect it to be Tai Long. Although Tai Long Night Fortress couldn't compare to their Poison Scorpion Alliance, they weren't pushovers. Just as they were about to step forward to speak, a true Een master with 6 true ring bodies appeared. Lei Xingfeng hid behind the group. The dispute between the true masters had nothing to do with him. He could only watch the show. DeLong was a short man with an extremely sturdy body. The width of his shoulders and body was almost taller than his upper body. The feeling he gave off was that he was square-shaped with a large head, a head full of white hair, a fierce-looking face, a huge mouth with a mouthful of large front teeth, giving off a rude and unreasonable image. Ai Shibo was an extremely handsome middle-aged uncle. He could be said to have an elegant demeanor. No matter if it was his appearance or his clothes, they were all impeccable. He had the demeanor of a noble. His face had the most amiable smile. Not knowing why, Lei Xingfeng didn't have a good impression of Ai Shibo. Instead, he had a better impression of DeLong. He couldn't help but laugh at himself. He probably couldn't stand handsome guys. Although he was an old handsome guy, there was always a tinge of envy and jealousy. Ai Shibo stopped in his tracks. He didn't expect the other party to have such a powerful expert. He knew that it would be extremely difficult to occupy this place. But his heart was still unwilling. He couldn't help but grumble in his heart. He was too arrogant. He always thought that the Poison Scorpion Alliance had the most advantageous position in Shirong land. There shouldn't be any other power that could compare to them. He said, "Tai Long, long time no see." Tai Long said, "Ai Shibo, long time no see." DeLong continued to walk forward. Gulu was instantly enraged. He said in a deep voice, "Bastard, are my words bullshit? I'm asking you to fucking stop." DeLong stared and said, "Is this your house? I'm walking. What does it have to do with you?" He was also used to being rude and unreasonable. Plus, the Poison Scorpion Alliance also had a true ring expert, so he wasn't too afraid. Gulu wasn't from Shirong land, so he didn't have any concept of the Poison Scorpion Alliance. Of course, he wasn't afraid of him. Plus, his temper wasn't good to begin with. He immediately pounced out and scolded, "You're just a fucking midget. How dare you speak to your senior like that? F***KU. DeLong was sincere. He just wanted to see how strong the other party was. He had always been arrogant and untamed. Gulu's aura didn't suppress him at all. Bang! The two of them forcefully exchanged a blow. A ray of golden light, a ray of red light, flickered with a dazzling brilliance. In an instant, DeLong was sent flying. He landed on a sand dune. Gulu pounced out once again. "Stop!" Ai Shabo yelled. "Stop!" Tai Lang yelled as well. This time, Not only did Gulu reveal a dissatisfied expression, even Elder Thunderstorm frowned. Tai Long quickly bowed and said, "Brother Gulu, please hold on. Let me say a few words first. How about it?" Gulu rolled his eyes and said, "All right, you say it first. I'll settle the score with him later." Although he didn't kill the Long with one palm, it still let him vent his anger. His mood improved, so he stopped temporarily. The Long crawled out from the sand dune. The impact just now had directly shot him more than a meter deep into the sand dune. It had to be said that the Long's identity made Gulu hold back. He didn't want to kill his opponent and provoke a big power. It would be very troublesome. Even if he wasn't afraid, he understood that he didn't have much enmity with the Long. It wasn't worth it to be ruthless. He still had this bit of propriety. Thunderstorm couldn't help but laugh. "My temper now is better than yours, hee. If it was in the past, he would definitely be the first to make a move." De Long noticed that De Long wasn't threatened by his power. He started to have misgivings. A wise man wouldn't fight when the odds were against him. He didn't move forward anymore. It could be said that he was testing De Long, but if he did it again, it wouldn't be a test anymore. It would be seeking death. Every expert had their own dignity. No one could endure repeated provocation. So he crawled out from a sand dune and waited at the same spot. This also meant that he had given in. AI Shibo laughed bitterly and said, "Tai Long, don't misunderstand. We're just passing by." He immediately changed his words. He could only do so. The old man lay, Bao snorted coldly. If it wasn't for Gulu's slap, the other party would have probably chased him away. He was used to the cruel fights between practitioners. Smart people knew when to stop. Tai Long also understood why De Long said that. He also wouldn't expose him. He laughed. Hee, it's a misunderstanding. The two of them chatted idly for a while. AI Shibo immediately turned around and left. He called De Long. The two of them quickly returned to the group, turned around and left. Lei Xingfeng was a little disappointed. "It's a pity that we didn't fight." Yin Wu couldn't help but laugh. The consequences of fighting would be serious. Lei Xingfeng said, "But we don't have to be afraid, right?" Yin Wu said, "Of course, but it's better if we don't fight. We need to conserve our strength when the hidden Luin space opens. Haha, at that time, you will see what a battle is." Lei Xingfeng said, "I wonder if there's anyone else coming." Chapter 72. Elder Thunderstorm squinted his eyes as he watched the Scorpion Alliance members leave. They walked a few hundred meters and stopped on another sand dune. Obviously, they knew that the best spot was occupied by Tai Long, so they wanted to get closer. Gulu was a little annoyed. He said, "I'll chase them away." Thunderstorm said, "No need, hee. You know that once the hidden Luin space descends, their location won't be safe." Actually, Gulu didn't know because he didn't know how to calculate. It wasn't that high level meant that he knew everything. He said, "So if it's like this, all right, then whatever. Just don't provoke me. Once we enter the hidden Luin space, if I see that De Long, I'll make him regret it." He didn't mind killing his opponent at the right time, since they already offended him. Of course, if there wasn't a chance, then so be it. He wouldn't purposely find De Long. Very quickly, a few more teams came over. Some of them had calculated the best spot, but when they saw that the Scorpion Alliance members didn't dare to occupy it, they understood and didn't dare to provoke them. This was something that Tai Long didn't expect. The expected battle didn't happen. Lei Xingfeng was a little disappointed, but he didn't think too much about it, because after this period of training, he was about to level up. This wasn't a good place to train. The most suitable place for him to train was a place with thunder and rain. Here, it was hot and spicy, but Lei Xingfeng had an advantage that others didn't have. That was the Lei Yin in his body. This provided a lot of convenience. This was the benefit of having an expert's guidance. Lei Yin's existence made it easy for Lei Xingfeng to level up. He could absorb Lei Yin's power and turn it into his own Lei Lunli, slowly increasing his Lunli. Gradually, the Lunli in his body reached a critical point, reaching 100,000 Lei Lunli. Once he crossed that, he would be able to level up to Millwheel Master. The strength of a Millwheel Master was enough to travel the world. Lei Xingfeng wasn't anxious at all. He continued to follow Thunderstorm's teachings, strengthening himself bit by bit and strengthening his foundation bit by bit. As time passed, The scene in the sky gradually disappeared. At this time, it was already impossible to calculate the best spot to enter. However, this didn't affect the experts that had already arrived. If they knew how to calculate, they would have already known the best spot to enter. They all stared at Tai Long's camp, but because of Tai Long's strength was unprecedented, no one dared to chase them away for now. Other than being on duty, Lei Xingfeng spent the rest of his time on training and learning. There were a large number of true masters here. No matter if it was the 1 true ring body Hongchun or the 6 true ring body Galu, they were all Lei Xingfeng's teachers. No one would reject Lei Xingfeng's guidance. One reason was because he was the grandson of Thunderstorm, and the other was because he was a genius. No matter what he learned, he would be able to understand everything. Therefore, these true masters were all willing to teach him. This kind of opportunity was hard to come by. Lei Xingfeng didn't know when he would be able to find such an opportunity again. Therefore, he didn't dare to relax at all. Every day was filled to the brim. No matter if he could use it or not, he would still ask and learn. Knowledge that he couldn't use might not be useless. This was something he understood in his previous life. Even if he knew the general idea, it was still better than not knowing anything. This time, the waiting time was really long. No one would have thought that this wait would last for 3 months. The image in the sky gradually disappeared. It was almost impossible to see it from below. Only a shadow could be seen from afar. Everyone knew that the hidden Luan space was about to descend. During this period of time, the food was almost depleted. Other than leaving a certain amount of food for everyone in Tai Long's team, they had already started to kill San Tua beasts a month ago to replenish their food. Some of the smaller teams had no choice but to retreat. Otherwise, they would really starve to death in the 1,000 Sand Barrier. As for Tai Long's camp, there were people who tried to enter from time to time. Some tried to coax, and some tried to force their way in. However, Tai Long and the other experts didn't give anyone a chance. All of them were blocked outside the camp. They had set up a perimeter. The perimeter of a few hundred meters was a restricted area. Anyone who tried to enter would be chased away. If they tried to enter more than once, they would be killed without hesitation. In the past few days, they had already killed 7 to 8 people. The teams outside the camp were getting more and more impatient. Even if they knew that Tai Long's camp had a large number of true masters, there were still people who didn't know what was good for them. Lei Xingfeng had been watching the battles from the side of the camp for the past few days. It was a pity that there weren't any real experts fighting. They were all probing attacks. On this day, Tai Long and AI Shibo came to Tai Long's camp. They were blocked outside the camp by Galu. AI Shibo shouted, Tai Long, come out for a moment. I have something to discuss with you." Tai Long was after all a famous person. He couldn't just hide in the camp. When he came out of the camp, Thunderstorm and the rest followed him out. Lei Xingfeng said softly, "Fatty, they still can't wait." Jean Depang had lost a bit of weight recently. Although there was still enough food, it was just enough to eat. Adding on the hot weather, he naturally lost weight. He smiled bitterly. The time is almost up. Of course they can't wait. If they continue to wait, they might not get anything. I heard that when the hidden Luan space descends, the safest place is the calculated location. Old Man Thunderstorm said, Tai Long, remember this. No matter what request they have, you can't agree to it. Once there is a gap, the others will swarm in. We won't be able to hold them off. At this point, Tai Long had no other choice. He nodded. Okay. He could not agree. Once he agreed, he knew that he wouldn't be able to mediate. They weren't afraid of the other party, but there were more and more practitioners coming to Thousand Sand Barrier. There were also many lone travelers. They were all experts in fighting. Once all of them charged in, they might not be able to defend the camp. The time was almost up. If something were to happen now, all their efforts would be in vain. AI Shibo said, Tai Long, I have something to discuss with you. Tai Long walked in front of the two and said, What is it? Say it. I have something to tell you. This camp, I don't have the final say. He thought about it, and this was the only way to slightly shirk his responsibility. Tai Long stared at Tai Long and said softly, Tai Long, we all know each other. Although we aren't familiar with each other, we are all practitioners from Shi Rong land. AI Shibo said, Give us, the Scorpion Alliance, 2 spots. We want 2 spots, Tai Long said. As long as you give us 2 spots, the Scorpion Alliance will owe you one. The 2 of us will also owe you one. Many people came from afar and watched from afar. They were all practitioners, and many of them were high-level practitioners. True human-level experts. Even if Delon and AI Shibo didn't speak loudly, they could still hear them clearly. Tai Long glanced at the crowd and complained in his heart. If he rejected, he would completely offend the Scorpion Alliance. But if he agreed, he knew clearly that there would be many true master experts who would make requests. Did he have to agree to all of them? That was impossible. I said, I don't have the final say in this camp. Thunderstorm couldn't help but shake his head. He didn't know that Tai Long was so indecisive. AI Shibo said, then who is in charge? Who has the final say? Old man Thunderstorm couldn't help but stand up. He said indifferently, I am in charge. I have a final say. Kid, there is no spot for you here. He rejected without any leeway. Tai Long raged, who are you? Who do you think you are? Old man Thunderstorm smiled and said, Kid, who I am isn't important. What's important is, I can kill you. A silver light rose into the air. Lei Xingfeng could tell with a glance that it was his grandfather's newly formed Lei Yin. Instantly, Lei Yin released a dazzling light. Thunderstorm said, Thousand Thunderstorm. Destroy. Boom, boom, boom. Dense thunder sounds suddenly rang out. It was as if countless drums were being beaten. Heaven and earth trembled. Countless lightning bolts, as thick as buckets, rained down. Under the guidance of Old Man Thunderstorm, they suddenly smashed down. Tai Long and AI Shibo were scared silly. The 2 of them didn't even have time to react. Lightning's attack speed was only second to light attribute practitioners. However, its power exceeded light attribute practitioners. AI Shibo frantically tried to escape. Tai Long didn't have time to escape. He only had time to release his body protecting Luanine force. Countless lightning bolts rained down on his body. Tai Long opened his mouth to speak, but swallowed his words. He knew that if he tried to stop them, he would definitely attract the hostility of his comrades. He only felt a headache as he watched Old Man Thunderstorm make his move. Instant kill. Tai Long was blasted into ashes. AI Shibo escaped quickly. He barely escaped with half his life. The main reason was that Old Man Thunderstorm was targeting Tai Long. No one would have thought that a true treasure Luanine master with 5 true ring bodies couldn't even block a single move from Old Man Thunderstorm. This was too frightening. After Old Man Thunderstorm killed Tai Long, he turned his target to AI Shibo. Lei Yin released a dazzling light. AI Shibo escaped extremely quickly. He had already escaped into his own group and shouted, Go! However, he couldn't be faster than lightning. In order to intimidate the surrounding people, Old Man Thunderstorm activated Lei Yin with all his might. The berserk Lei Yin released countless lightning bolts. 1,000 thunderstorms erupted once again. Lei Xingfeng opened his mouth wide. He stared blankly at the dancing lightning. He was truly shocked. He never would have thought that Ayez Lei Yin would be so abnormal. He finally had the common sense of a practitioner. Just from these 2 attacks, he understood that Yi definitely wasn't a 6th true ring body. He was most likely a 7th true ring body, or even higher. 1,000 thunderstorms rained down. Chapter 73. AI Shibo didn't stop at all. When Delon was turned into ashes, he knew that he couldn't beat that unknown old man. Therefore, he didn't hesitate to throw out a sealed artifact. It was his life-saving sealed artifact, an Earth attribute defensive sealed artifact. This was a sealed artifact from the ancient Hidden Luin space. He spent a lot of effort to obtain this sealed artifact. In an instant, he was enveloped in a golden light. At this moment, 1,000 bolts of lightning struck down. Everyone in the camp took out their best defensive measures in an attempt to block the lightning. There were many teams around, all of them watching with their mouths agape. The Scorpion Alliance's camp was drowned in countless lightning bolts. Thunder rumbled, shaking the heavens and the earth. The earth, which was already hot, seemed to be boiling as smoke and dust rose into the air. When the smoke and dust dissipated and the sound of thunder faded away, the entire Scorpion Alliance's camp had already disappeared. The sand dune they were in had also completely collapsed. There was nothing left on the ground. It was completely blown away by the thousands of thunderbolts, leaving nothing behind. However, AI Shibo had managed to escape this calamity. The sealed artifact that he had tossed out had saved his life. That earth, attributed sealed artifact, after blocking the 1,000 thunderbolts, had instantly turned into nothingness. However, it had still managed to block the terrifying attack of the 1,000 thunderbolts. Old Man Thunderstorm watched AI Shibo escape. He was already unable to attack a third time. Lei Yin's 2 consecutive crazy attacks had used up more than half of his stored energy. This was his full strength attack. It could be said that he didn't care about the cost. In order to deter the people around him, he had no choice but to use his Thunderbolt technique to intimidate the restless crowd. Half of AI Shibo's body was charred. He frantically ran away, not daring to stop. In his heart, he was screaming for revenge. Lei Yin descended from the sky, instantly disappearing above Old Man Thunderstorm's head. Old Man Thunderstorm's face was a bit pale. He said in a low voice, "Who else wants to occupy my camp? Get the F***CK out of here." The surrounding people were like rats whose nest had been destroyed. They frantically ran away. No one dared to stay. The scene just now was too frightening. With the old man's strength, no one here could stop him. Staying behind would be seeking death. In just a few minutes, not a single person could be seen in the camp. Jean Depeng muttered to himself, "Awe-inspiring, so fucking awe-inspiring. Sigh, I didn't expect the old man to be so strong. It's scary." Not only were Jean Depeng and Lei Xingfeng shocked, Tai Long and the others were also shocked. Gulu had a strange expression. He only just realized that Elder Thunderstorm was stronger than him. Yin Wu smiled bitterly. Tai Popo's face was still cold, but her slightly trembling hands revealed her shock. And Yadin covered her mouth. She had always known that Thunderstorm was an unfathomable person, but this time when he used his full strength, he was actually so ferocious, it still shocked her greatly. Tai Long smiled bitterly as he shook his head. He understood that his hesitation made Elder Thunderstorm despise him. At this moment, he understood that he could no longer be as unscrupulous as before. He already had someone he cared about and a huge responsibility. He could no longer act according to his own preferences. Thunderstorm turned around and left. He returned to his tent in the center of the camp and sat down to recover. This time, he didn't use up too much of his Yinli. On the other hand, Lei Yin's energy was mostly depleted. He had to recover Lei Yin's energy. This was his trump card. Gula glanced at Tai Long and also turned to leave. Tai Long smiled bitterly again. He knew that Gulu was also dissatisfied. He was dissatisfied that he was too weak, to the point that the old man had no choice but to reveal their biggest trump card. After the old man Lei Bao's crazy massacre, there was no one who dared to provoke them anymore. For 3 days, not even a shadow could be seen around the campsite. Originally, there were quite a number of people who were camping around the campsite, but after the massacre, they all left quietly. There were no traces of the hidden Luan space in the sky anymore. The San Tua beasts in the camp were all slaughtered. There was only a small amount of food left. If everyone was frugal, they could still eat for 10 days. This place was different from other places. There was no prey to be found at all. Everyone anxiously waited for the hidden Luan space to descend. Lei Xingfeng also stopped studying. These 2 days, he stayed beside Elder Thunderstorm. Elder Thunderstorm, Tai Long, Yin Wu, Gulu, and Yadin, Tai Popo, Qi Xian, Hong Chun, Jean Depeng, Lei Xingfeng, Yin Yin, and the others all gathered together. As for the true masters that Tai Long brought, they also gathered together. They knew that the hidden Luan space was about to descend. At this time, a subordinate reported that there were more people appearing around them. Tai Long said, "Don't mind them." Gulu said indifferently, "They won't dare to come close." Thunderstorm suddenly waved his hand and said, "Don't talk. Everyone listen carefully." There was a slight movement and a faint kacha sound could be heard. Elder Thunderstorm said, Remove the tents. Immediately, Tai Long's subordinates quickly removed the tents. Without the cover of the tents, the sunlight shone down. Everyone's eyes were bright. The scorching sunlight shone on their bodies. In just a moment, Lei Xingfeng's forehead was covered in sweat. He immediately activated his Mi Ring armor. He had leveled up to Millwheel Master 2 days ago. After leveling up to Millwheel Master, Elder Thunderstorm was very satisfied and slightly relieved. One must know that with the descent of the Hidden Luin space, Wan Luin Shi would be too weak. He had to split his attention to protect him. However, Millwheel Masters were different. At least they had a certain amount of ability to protect themselves. He could also use all his strength to fight for the treasures in the Hidden Luin space. According to Elder Thunderstorm's instructions, everyone stood in a circle. This kind of calculation needed to be very precise. Elder Thunderstorm and a few others who could calculate. After a few calculations, they finally determined the best entry point. Slowly, the tremors got bigger and bigger. More and more people gathered around. They knew that the people in Tai Long's camp couldn't chase them away. A faint rumbling sound could be heard. The entire ground was trembling. Everyone felt extremely uneasy. As the ground was filled with sand dunes, following the increase in tremors, the sand dunes started to collapse bit by bit. Some of the larger sand dunes started to collapse. The old man Lei Bao shouted, "Everyone stabilize, don't fall." Everyone held hands and formed a circle. They waited for the ancient Hidden Luin space to descend. Their faces were filled with excitement. Boom! Not far away, a sand dune collapsed. The people standing on top of it were immediately buried underground. Fortunately, they were all cultivators. If they were ordinary people, it would be very difficult for them to survive this collapse. One by one, they climbed out of the sand dune in a sorry state. Following that, sand dunes collapsed one after another. Even Elder Thunderstorm's sand dunes started to lower in height. The frequency of the ground shaking was getting higher and higher. Everyone was very excited and nervous. Who knew what was going to happen? The calmest ones were the true masters. After all, they had seen a lot of things and had great strength, so they had a lot of experience in such situations. The sky suddenly darkened. The land that was originally exposed to the sun turned black. Xian Feng raised his head to look and could not help but exclaim, "Fuck, what is this thing?" A huge black hole appeared in the sky. It was getting bigger and bigger. A huge whirlwind shot down. He shouted at Gulu, "I'll be outside. You'll be inside." Gulu replied, "All right." A red light appeared on top of his head and flew out. That was his fire seal. In an instant, a red light covered everyone. Elder Thunderstorm also flew out his Lei. He immediately flew outside and released countless lightning arcs to protect everyone. The 2 layers of protection blocked the whirlwind. That whirlwind was very strange. Not only did it produce sharp whistling sounds, there were black snake-like shadows spiraling in the whirlwind. Very quickly, everyone saw a shocking scene. The practitioners in the surroundings, once they came into contact with the black shadows, they were instantly torn into pieces. They couldn't escape even if they wanted to. Instantly, in the whistling whirlwind, miserable cries could be heard. Jean Pang was shocked. "Oh my God, what is this thing? It's so powerful." The black shadows were originally sparse. As the black hole in the sky grew bigger, they became more and more concentrated. Those crazily running people were constantly hit and turned into minced meat and blood. They disappeared in the whirlwind. All kinds of curses and miserable cries scared those who were still alive. It was hard for them to escape now. What was strange was that the black shadows that were wreaking havoc in the gale never passed by Tai Long's campsite. Occasionally, a few of the black shadows would attack, but they were all blocked by Lei Bao and Gulu's lightning and fire stamp. Very quickly, Lei Xingfeng realized that although the black shadows were powerful, but to true masters, their damage was limited. They could at least block most of the attacks. As long as they had 2 true ring bodies, they wouldn't die in the whirlwind. Elder Thunderstorm said, "This isn't a thing. This is the black astral wind. If you're not a true master, you'll be torn into pieces. It's not something normal practitioners can block. I didn't expect the black astral wind to appear. Seems like this ancient hidden Lewin space isn't simple. The black astral wind was like a huge millstone, grinding the people inside into minced meat bit by bit. Originally, there were a few thousand people outside Tai Long's camp. There were also large amounts of sand tuah beasts and desert hounds. With the arrival of the whirlwind and black astral wind, more than half of them were gone. The black astral wind even had a faint red glow. There were many third, fourth, and even fifth ring true masters that started to attack Tai Long's camp, because everyone could see that this was the only safe place. If it wasn't for Elder Thunderstorm's deterrence, this camp would have been attacked long ago. It was all thanks to Elder Thunderstorm that they were able to hold on until now. Lei and Fire Seal. These two seals could only be formed by masters with 6 true ring bodies and above. Its power wasn't normal and was enough to block all kinds of attacks. Elder Thunderstorm shouted, "All of you scram. Whoever dares to attack our camp will be killed without mercy." Chapter 74. The experts who had already rushed to the vicinity of the camp, under the old man Lei Bao's shout, could only leave unwillingly. They were all experts with considerable strength and could temporarily resist the Black Gale's attack. But they understood that if the old man Lei Bao were to attack, they would not be able to resist. Suddenly, the Black Gale gradually thinned out. Just as everyone heaved a sigh of relief, streaks of greenish-white lightning appeared in the gale. In an instant, dozens of cultivators were struck until their bodies trembled and were swept into the gale. They were like fallen leaves in the autumn wind, fluttering in the air. Lei Xingfeng suddenly felt a large amount of lightning energy in the air. The energy made his heart palpitate. One must know that he was a lightning cultivator and was naturally immune to lightning damage. He could even absorb lightning energy from outside. Even so, he felt a great threat, let alone other practitioners. Thunderstorm's expression was a little strange. He also felt the lightning energy, but this lightning energy made him feel very strange. He could clearly feel that this energy was of a higher level than the Yin Li he controlled. This was something he had never felt before. If it weren't for the current situation, he really wanted to sit down and cultivate. He wanted to absorb the lightning here and see what changes would happen. Suddenly, countless lightning bolts struck towards Elder Thunderstorm's Lei Yin. One after another, dozens of lightning bolts struck Lei Yin. Because Lei Yin was hanging above the camp, the whole camp was brightly lit. It was as if Lei Yin had replaced the light of the sun. Lei Bao was very nervous. Soon, he realized that something was wrong because he noticed that the lightning stamp was changing rapidly. For the time being, he didn't know if this change was good or bad, but he knew that the lightning stamp he condensed was different. Fortunately, the lightning stamp was still under his control. He couldn't care less about it, because he was busy. At worst, he could just condense a new lightning stamp. Ever since he learned how to absorb a large amount of heavenly lightning from Thunderstorm, condensing a lightning stamp wasn't a difficult thing. Therefore, Thunderstorm didn't put away Lei Yin. Instead, he commanded Lei Yin to absorb a large amount of lightning. Lei Xingfeng was also quietly absorbing lightning. However, the amount he absorbed was very small because this wasn't a place to cultivate. He could only rely on his Lei Lunli to absorb some of the lightning. As a result, Jean Depang and Yin, who were holding hands with him, were miserable. They felt their arms go numb and their hair stood up uncontrollably. Jean Depang and Yin didn't dare to let go. They could only tremble and say, "A phone. What are you doing?" Yin also said, "My mom." Lei Xingfeng asked curiously, "Your mom?" Yin was stunned. "My mom." Xian Feng asked, "And what happened to your mother?" Yin almost went crazy. If they weren't familiar with each other, she would have punched this guy. She rolled her eyes and said, "You know my mom." Because of the lightning teleportation, Yin and Jean Depang weren't immune to lightning. Therefore, Yin couldn't speak clearly. It was no wonder that Lei Xingfeng heard wrongly. He said, "I didn't scold you." Yin was so angry that she bumped into Lei Xingfeng. She said angrily, "Let go." At this time, she couldn't care less. That numb feeling was driving her crazy. Bang! Yan's head bumped into Lei Xingfeng's shoulder. Caught off guard, Lei Xingfeng let go and said, "What's wrong with you?" Jean Depeng reacted and couldn't help but laugh. She said, "Num num. Little Yin, am I right?" Yin nodded fiercely and said, "A phone is deaf. It's so messed up. It's so infuriating." Tai Lang said in a low voice, "You two, hold hands. You're still bickering at this time." Lei Xingfeng obediently stretched out his hand and said, "Don't worry, I won't numb you." He retracted his thunder lumley. Although he continued to absorb lightning, he was careful not to make his companion feel uncomfortable. Lightning killed people faster, more ferocious, and more cruel. When lightning struck people, they were basically reduced to ashes. Even dregs were rarely left behind. Wherever the wind passed, there was basically nothing left. One cultivator after another died. Even those enlightened masters took out their trump cards and madly defended. No one dared to be careless. Those who were careless all died. Yin was usually quiet, but after getting familiar with her, she wasn't so cold anymore. She muttered, "So infuriating." She reached out to hold Lei Xingfeng's hand. She was still a little unhappy. At this time, the practitioners who were dodging nearby couldn't hold on any longer. Even sages couldn't withstand such dense lightning. They started to run outside. If this continued, they would really die. The lightning disappeared very suddenly. A second ago, it was still lightning and thunder. The next second, it was silent. Along with the lightning and thunder, the black gale also disappeared suddenly. Elder, Thunderstorm, and Gula shouted at the same time, "Focus! Be careful!" The black hole in the sky expanded to a few thousand meters. However, it was no longer spewing out wind. Instead, countless thin threads floated out. Those black threads were like floating cotton. They fell down in clumps. No one knew what they were. However, Thunderstorm and Gulu acted as if they were facing a great enemy. Both of them kept their seals at the same time. Thunderstorm grabbed Lei Xingfeng and shouted, "Everyone dodge. Don't let that thing touch you." The whole defense circle collapsed. Thunderstorm grabbed Lei Xingfeng and kept dodging. This time, even though they were in the best position, some of the black threads still fell down. However, they had a certain amount of space warp. Fortunately, the speed of the threads wasn't fast. As long as they were careful enough, they could still dodge from this position. Lei Xingfeng didn't understand and asked, "Yi, can't this thing be blocked?" Thunderstorm said, "It can't be blocked. Whoever tries to block it will die." Lei Xingfeng said, "What is this?" Yi, how do you know?" Thunderstorm grabbed Lei Xingfeng and had already dodged a few clumps of threads. He said, "I don't know what it is either. However, my intuition tells me that this thing can't be blocked." Other than the camp they were in, the other places were filled with threads. There were still a few hundred people who survived the black gale and lightning. As the sand dunes were all flattened, Lei Xingfeng and the rest could clearly see these people desperately trying to escape. They could also see the threads falling bit by bit. Suddenly, a Wan Luanshir from Stellar Night Fortress let out a scream. While he was dodging, he bumped into a clump of threads. Without a sound, a large piece of his body disappeared. Seeing that he was paralyzed on the ground and blood was quickly flowing out, Tai Long angrily shouted, "Everyone dodge carefully. Whoever is F*King careless will F*King die." Everyone was trying their best to dodge. Hongchen also grabbed Yin and dodged. Only Jean Depeng didn't have any elders. He could only rely on himself to dodge. His fat face was filled with fear and sweat. He dodged left and right. His mouth was even mumbling something. No one noticed him. The camp was already in a mess. Everyone was struggling for their lives. No one dared to slack off. The people far away ran with all their might. However, the ground here was made of sand. If they were not careful, their legs would get stuck. Wanting to run quickly was extremely difficult. Those clumps of threads were already close to the ground, right above the heads of the people running. Screams came one after another. Some people didn't even have time to scream before they were killed by those weird threads. In less than a minute, the people running on the ground were only left with a few people. They were almost sticking to the ground. Using all four limbs like wild dogs, they ran out. But even so, they couldn't run out of the ground that was covered by the hidden Luin space. They died one after another. As for the people in Stellar Night Fortress, 7 or 8 people died. There were a few who were injured, including Jean Depang. One of his arms brushed against a clump of threads, and a large piece of flesh disappeared. After about 5 minutes, the falling ball of filaments finally disappeared. The surroundings were silent. Other than the people in Tai Lang's camp, everyone who entered this area were all dead. Those who were not in the best position had no way to survive. Yen Wu laughed bitterly. If those people knew that they would definitely die if they stayed outside, they would probably attack our camp with all their might. Gulu said faintly. This opportunity was gone after Brother Lei Bao made his move. Tai Long laughed bitterly. He could hear Gulu's dissatisfaction towards him. However, he couldn't explain it. He sighed lightly. Dalan and the Scorpion Alliance's team were wiped out. Instead, they saved AI Shibo's life. He should have returned to the Scorpion Alliance to ask for help. Old Man Thunderstorm said nonchalantly, "It's nothing much. At most, we'll just fight with the Scorpion Alliance. I don't believe that they would dare to offend a lone ghost like me." A lone high-level true master was the most threatening person. No powerhouse was willing to offend such a person. When they wanted to take revenge, they would definitely do anything. Tai Long laughed bitterly. He muttered in his heart, "You're a lone traveler. I have a family to feed. Unless I'm like you, then I'll definitely be crazier than you." Old Man Thunderstorm put down Lei Xingfeng and looked up. He didn't say anything for a while, but his expression gradually became serious. Gulu also looked up and said, "God, what kind of hidden Luin space is this? It actually has so many defenses. This person should be a super expert in the ancient era, right?" Old Man Thunderstorm said softly, "Don't talk too much. They still don't understand. This time, I don't know if it's a blessing or a curse." Lei Xingfeng heard everything clearly. He didn't dare to ask, but he had a guess in his heart. This ancient hidden Luin space might be an incredible treasure. Even Thunderstorm didn't guess it correctly. That was why he brought him here. He only treated it as a treasure hunt or training. Rather than a treasure hunt, it was more of a training for him. However, from the looks of it, this hidden Luin space was something incredible. If it was an extremely rare hidden Luin space, then their serious expressions would be explained. Even if they obtained this treasure, to them, it would be a huge problem, because this would attract those top-level or legendary characters. Chapter 75. Even with the old man Lei Bao's experience and knowledge, he was unable to deduce what era this Luin Chong space was from. Nor could he deduce what kind of expert left behind this plaything. The only thing everyone was sure of was that this Luin Chong space was definitely not ordinary. Gulu whispered, "This is really surprising. Who knows what the consequences will be?" The stronger one was, the more they knew, and the more worried they would be. Old Man Thunderstorm also whispered, "Don't worry about that. Since we're here, we won't give up." Gulu suddenly laughed. "Since we're all alone, once we get the benefits, we'll just run away. This world is so big. Who would bother us?" Exine Feng had always stayed by Lei Bao's side. The two of them didn't hide their conversation from him, causing him to tremble in fear. This was the first time he had seen such a terrifying treasure fight. If they didn't occupy their current position, adding on to the fact that they had dealt with the situation properly, only Lei Bao and Gulu would be able to survive. The rest would probably be dead. Looking at the situation outside, over 1,000 people had all died. Not a single one had escaped. Even if they occupied the best position, many people still died. This hidden Luin space was too perverse. The black tumbling in the sky. Who knew what it was? Suddenly, Old Man Thunderstorm grabbed Lei Xingfeng, and the sky seemed to be collapsing. Everything turned black, and a thunderous sound could be heard. The hidden Luin space had finally descended. Old Man Thunderstorm's body flashed with lightning. Lei Xingfeng only felt himself tumbling. He was grabbed tightly by Old Man Thunderstorm. The surroundings were pitch black. He couldn't see anything. The only thing he could see was the lightning on Old Man Thunderstorm's body. It was as if he stepped on air, his whole body falling quickly. He couldn't hear anything around him, as if the loud sound just now caused his ears to stop working. He didn't know how long had passed. Maybe it was a moment, maybe it was a day. But in any case, Lei Xingfeng had completely lost track of time. Old Man Thunderstorm was very calm. He grabbed Lei Xingfeng tightly and whispered, "What the hell? What kind of hidden Luan space is this?" Even though Old Man Thunderstorm was very close to him, his voice seemed to come from far away. Lei Xingfeng said, "Ah Yi, where are we?" He was shocked by his own voice. It was muffled, as if there was an echo. It was extremely strange. Old Man Thunderstorm said, "I don't know where this place is in. The only thing I'm sure is that we've entered this hidden Lin space." Lei Xingfeng said, "But I can't see anything." The old man Lei Bao said, "Be patient, Feng. Hold on tight to me." Lei Xingfeng's back was Thunderstorm, was Lin. Thunderstorm, Storm, was Lei Xingfeng, was Luan, was Thunderstorm, was Lin. Thunderstorm was Thunderstorm, was Luan of Thunderstorm. The two of them seemed to be floating in water. A phrase appeared in Lei Xingfeng's mind, going with the flow. He felt like he was going with the flow, floating all the way down. God knows where he would float to. This strange feeling made him go crazy. Luckily, he was with Old Man Thunderstorm. The two of them could still talk. This made him feel less scared. This experience completely broke his previous knowledge. It was a very strange experience. When Thunderstorm and the rest were sucked into the hidden Luan space, the Thousand Sand Barrier underwent a shocking change. Between heaven and earth, a huge gust of wind blew. Countless sand flew up and was absorbed by an invisible force. A large group of people was 100 miles away from the Thousand Sand Barrier, quietly watching the changes. The three of them stood on a sand dune. Behind them was a large group of practitioners. An extremely handsome young man smiled as he looked at the sandstorm. He said, "I didn't expect there to be an ancient hidden Luan space. What good luck, E. Dayton. Your contribution is not small. Hee. Don't worry. I won't mistreat you." An old man with a face full of wrinkles smiled. "Senior, I'm just reporting to you. I'm afraid this is just a normal hidden Luan space." Another middle-aged man said, "Sidanoa, we're still late. If we found a good spot, we would have already entered." Sidanoa said, "It's nothing. Even if we're late, who can take it away in front of us?" Hee, Sun Baru, we're already very lucky to be able to come. If we were half a year or a year later, we wouldn't have gotten anything. This is all thanks to E. Dayton. Dayton smiled. "Senior son, I just asked around. There's a guy who knows a bit. I got people to bring him here. You can ask him." Sun Baru said, "Okay, bring him here." E. Dayton waved his arm. Two people immediately dragged a middle-aged man over. This person was Ai Shibo, who was heavily injured by the old man Lei Bao. He was actually being dragged over like a dead dog. He looked at the three people in front of him in despair. The old man with a face full of wrinkles was the one who captured him. He had no ability to resist at all. Due to his injuries, he was unable to display his abilities and was easily captured. Dayton waved his hand. "Throw him over." Ai Shibo was thrown in front of the three. Dayton said, "Senior son, I brought him over. This guy should be a true treasure lining master. He's an incredible expert in Shirong land. He's someone who condensed 5 true ring bodies." Actually, he didn't think it would be so easy to capture a 5 true ring body expert. He was quite pleased. Sun Buru nodded. "Okay, 5 true ring bodies, not bad." Sinan Nuo smiled. He clasped his hands behind his back. He didn't speak, only watching the show with interest. Ai Shibo's face turned green. A truing master actually had such a flattering expression. It was obvious what kind of status the two people in front of him had. Beads of sweat rolled down his forehead. He howled in his heart. How could he be so unlucky this time? Meeting Lei Bao first and being beaten to the point of pissing his pants. After escaping with great difficulty, he was caught halfway and beaten to a pulp. Sun Baru said, "Okay, you seem to have been injured. It seems like you were injured by a lightning-type cultivator. Tell me, what did you see inside? Maybe if I'm in a good mood, I'll spare your life." Dayton's face changed. Of course he knew why he defeated the opponent. He didn't expect Sun Buru to see through it. He forced a smile. and acted as if he didn't care. He didn't dare to be dissatisfied with Sun Buru. Even if he exposed his flaunting, he could only act dumb. But with his vengeful personality, AI Shibo would be in trouble in the future. AI Shibo said, I'm the great elder of the Scorpion Alliance. Dayton kicked him fiercely, saying indifferently, what damn alliance? Don't F asterisk king show it. Answer Senior's question. AI Shibo's heart was filled with despair. The opponent didn't even care about his power. He said miserably, Yes. Sun Buru asked kindly, what's your name? What did you see before? What kind of powerful people were there? Okay, right? Who injured you? AI Shibo said honestly, I'm called AI Shibo. I saw a lot of people inside. As for the powerful people, okay, there was Tai Long and an old man. I was injured by him, right? I asked around. That old man's name is Thunderstorm. I couldn't tell how strong he was. He only used one move to injure me. Dayton was shocked. What? What did you say? Thunderstorm. AI Shibo said, Yes, I asked around. I heard he's very powerful, a lightning-type expert. Dayton said, What does he look like? AI Shibo gave a simple description of Thunderstorm's appearance. Dayton started to grit his teeth. Dano smiled. Dayton, you know that Thunderstorm? Dayton said hatefully, Of course I know him. 60 years ago I was injured by him. Almost lost my life. My hatred for him is as deep as the ocean. But this guy disappeared for a few decades. I couldn't find any traces of him. I didn't expect him to appear again. Sun Buru said, I think you won't be able to take revenge with my experience. This time when the hidden Luin space descends, it will cause a reaction that they won't be able to withstand. They might even die inside. If they don't die, that means he's much stronger than you. It will be difficult for you to take revenge. AI Shibo didn't know if he should be happy or afraid. Delon was killed. He was heavily injured. Towards Thunderstorm, his hatred wasn't bad, but Dayton wasn't his friend, and he could see that this Dayton didn't have a good temper. Whether he could live or not was still uncertain. He couldn't be happy. Dayton was extremely unhappy with Sun Buru's words, but he didn't dare to be disrespectful. He could only suppress the anger in his heart and said, Maybe I'm not as strong as him, but Senior should be much stronger than him. He immediately thought of borrowing a knife to kill. Sun Buru smiled and said, AI Shibo, why did you have a conflict with Thunderstorm? AI Shibo said weakly, They occupied the best location, so Dano couldn't help but laugh. So that's the case. If you want to snatch other people's location, you need to have sufficient strength, the result of overestimating yourself. Haha, you'll become a pile of dog shit. AI Shibo was speechless. Being mocked and ridiculed by others made him extremely depressed. Dano continued, From the looks of it, only Thunderstorm and his group can enter the hidden Luin space. A pity, we can't enter at the moment. Thunder rumbled from afar. The ground was trembling. Sun Buru said, Thousand Sand Barrier should completely disappear. Who knows how big this hidden Luin space is? I'm guessing the entire Thousand Sand Barrier being sucked in shouldn't be a big problem. It might even affect us. Dano said, Even if it affects us, it won't be serious. At most, it'll just be the aftermath. He said casually, Boom. Chapter 76. Before Ano finished his words, a large area of the ground caved in. This guy and Sun Buru suddenly flew into the air. Dayton's reaction was slightly slower, but he also flew up, while AI Shibo, due to his heavy injuries, couldn't run at all and instantly fell down. He let out a cry of shock, then went silent. Nobody knew if he was dead or unconscious, but that wasn't important. The important thing was that the entire ground caved in. The ground had caved in at least 100 meters. Screams filled the air. Ano and Sun Buru's expressions became ugly and awkward, especially Ano. He was a bit angry. His group of subordinates desperately tried to escape. The three of them had no choice but to become a rescue team. Fortunately, the collapse did not extend too far. Adding on the fact that they were all cultivators, although many of them were buried underground, they used their own abilities to dig their way out. The only unexpected thing was that AI Shibo was nowhere to be found. Even E. Dayton lost a few of his subordinates. They were all Wan Luan and Millwheel masters. None of the true masters were lost. Only a few true masters with 1 or 2 true ring bodies were injured. After all, the strength of a true master wasn't something Wan Luan and Millwheel masters could compare to. Si Ano and Sun Buru brought a group of people and retreated. Even with their strength, they didn't dare to barge in. They already knew that this hidden Luan space was definitely not ordinary. They began to mercilessly kill and chase away the practitioners that came from the outside. They had already decided not to let other powers in. As for those who entered before them, when they had the chance, they would also be killed unless they were stronger than Si Ano and Sun Buru. Otherwise, they wouldn't be able to escape death. Thunderstorm and Lei Xingfeng were still floating in the dark space. At this time, a huge force pushed them forward, and their speed was getting faster and faster. Lei Xingfeng tightly hugged Thunderstorm's neck, his 2 legs wrapped around the old man's waist. Old man Thunderstorm let out Lei Yin and fixed Lei Yin under his feet. A thin layer of lightning protected the 2 of them. The 2 of them shot forward like arrows. There was a rumbling sound behind them, but they didn't know what it was. The old man Lei Bao instinctively felt that something was wrong. He immediately activated his lightning stamp and rushed forward. He did not know what was behind him and what was in front of him, but he did not want to fall behind as he instinctively knew that there was danger behind him. An Almighty's hidden Luan space would be very large. An enlightened master's hidden Luan space was called a small hidden Luan space. This type of hidden Luan space was relatively precious. However, this hidden Luan space in front of him was obviously not a small hidden Luan space. This hidden Luan space in front of him had this feeling. It was very similar to a hidden star Luan. However, Old Man Thunderstorm couldn't be sure because he had never seen a hidden Great Luan or a hidden star Luan before. Lei Xingfeng didn't understand at all. He didn't need to understand what a hidden Great Luan or a hidden star Luan was. He just needed to find a way to enter and collect the things inside. If he was lucky, he might be able to find some rare ancient items. Thunderstorm was very excited. He knew that once he successfully entered the hidden Luan space, the rewards this time would definitely not be bad. If he found some useful abilities or items, he might even be able to level up. This time, he relied on the power of natural lightning to level up. However, how to improve in the future was right in front of him. Now that there was a good chance, he couldn't let it go easily. Lei Xingfeng looked back. It was dark here. They could only rely on the faint silver light emitted by Thunderstorm's Lei Yin to barely see their surroundings. However, there was nothing on their flight path. Lei Xingfeng felt that there was something behind them, but he couldn't see clearly. He said, "I.e., there seems to be something coming from behind. It's very fast." Thunderstorm said, "I know." He frantically flew forward. Luckily, he could fly. If he couldn't fly and just floated forward, he believed that the thing behind them would have caught up. Suddenly, light flashed in front of Lei Bao and Xian Feng. In an instant, countless stars appeared in front of them. Those were the items stored in the hidden Luan space, as dense as the night sky. Lei Bao spoke in shock. "This is the fucking hidden star Luan. This is a fucking hidden star Luan. Haha, Feng, we're rich." Lei Xingfeng didn't know that one person could collect so many things. At a glance, it was densely packed with all kinds of items. How do we collect them? Lei Xingfeng knew that his hidden Luan space was very small. At most, it was 100 or so cubic meters of space. That was only expanded after he became a mill-wheel master. Thunderstorm said, "Let's not worry about that. We'll collect as much as we can." Lei Xingfeng was dazzled. He didn't know what to collect. Thunderstorm reminded him, "Find something special. Don't take anything you've seen before. Find something you haven't seen before, especially the star python skin that can be recorded. Also, special tools. Oh, right, and medicine. Don't let them go." The 2 of them started collecting crazily. Lei Xingfeng realized that he couldn't move in the hidden Luan space. He could only rely on Thunderstorm's back. Thus, he took out a rope and tied it to Thunderstorm's waist. He relied on the rope and pounced towards the things he was interested in. Once he got them, he would pull the rope back. Thunderstorm's eyes were different. He brought Lei Xingfeng and flew towards those rare items. No one else had entered the hidden Luan space yet. Only the 2 of them were running around. In just a few minutes, because Thunderstorm's hidden Lewin space was very big, he collected everything without any restraint. Large amounts of items were collected into his hidden Lewin space. Lei Xingfeng could only choose. In a few minutes, he collected tens of items. He didn't even have time to see what they were. As long as he felt that he wanted something, he would immediately collect it. Lei Xingfeng suddenly pointed not far away and said, "Ah Yi, over there." He had an observation mission and needed to remind Thunderstorm. This was the work of the two of them. Thunderstorm looked over and immediately flew over without hesitation. At the same time, he praised, "Good foam." There were 7 to 8 items floating in the air. Lei Xingfeng's eyes were indeed good. He saw a scroll. The color was very similar to the skin of a star python. This was what Thunderstorm was most concerned about. With his knowledge, the stronger Thunderstorm was, the more benefits he could get. Thus, he knew that he had to find what Thunderstorm needed and not what he needed. Only now did he calm down. The shock when he first entered was too great. He couldn't focus on searching. Thunderstorm kept the 2 pieces of star python skin into his hidden Lewin space. He didn't collect the other items and said, "A phone, you collect." Lei Xingfeng immediately collected them. Since the items weren't big, they were suitable for him to collect. Suddenly, Thunderstorm raised his head and said, "They're here." Lei Xingfeng saw a few silhouettes suddenly appear in the distance. What happened next made him stunned. Countless sand and stones spewed out, forming a sandstorm that quickly spread out. Thunderstorm immediately flew away. He didn't want to be buried by the sand and stones. Because of the rope, Lei Xingfeng also flew away with the old man. Lei Xingfeng didn't choose anymore. He focused on the small items that were less than a few feet in size. As for the large items, he didn't care at all because they weren't something he could collect. Suddenly, he saw a bone that was 4 feet long. It was a silver-white bone that was as thick as a calf. The bone was very strange, and there were actual electric arcs flashing on it. He suddenly pushed Lei Bao, and his body bounced back. He pounced in front of the bone and grabbed it. Thunderstorm looked back and couldn't help but shout, "Good! That's the bone of a star thunderbeast." "Ha ha! A phone! Your luck is really good." "Ha! Star thunderbeast?" Lei Xingfeng thought for a moment and remembered the records on the star python records. It was a powerful star beast that had long gone extinct. Like the star python, it was an extremely powerful star beast from ancient times. It was a beast of legends. It was an innate lightning-controlling beast. It was said that the bone of this star thunder beast was one of the best materials to make lightning-type weapons. It was born with lightning. He actually found one here. Lei Xingfeng looked back. The sand and stones formed a sand curtain, and the silhouettes that originally appeared were also swallowed by the sand curtain. "Why is there so much sand?" Thunderstorm said, "It's normal. If it's on the sea, then you'll see a lot of seawater rushing in. If it's in a place like Tiger Cliff Castle, then mountains and trees will also appear. Of course, they will be torn to pieces before they can enter." Lei Xingfeng exclaimed, "What is this?" Thunderstorm said, "Right now, we can't feel the gravity. When the sand and stones settle down, you'll see the ground appear. Then the hidden Lewin space will completely collapse and appear on top of the Thousand Sand Barrier. At that time, all the stored items will appear. Once the hidden Lewin space appears, it means that everything will explode out. Many of them will be hidden under the sand, and many will fall on the sand. At that time, it will be the real beginning of a bloody storm. This period of time could be 3 days, or it could be a few months. During this period of time, it would be the reward for those who entered first. They would be able to obtain the earliest batch of treasures. Of course, the prerequisite was that they could protect it. The practitioners of this world all have a Lewin Chang space, and the characteristic of the Lewin Chang space is that it will disappear with the death of its owner and will not appear immediately. Thus, robbing it is impossible unless you have a way to torture the owner of the treasure. Just relying on killing people to obtain the treasure is absolutely impossible. Lei Bao and Xian Feng stared at another item that was emitting a dim light. Chapter 77. Tai Long was extremely sullen. Ever since he was sucked in, he had been floating. He was after all an expert with 5 true ring bodies, but he was only slightly stronger than others here, but he definitely wasn't as free as Lei Bao. Until the violent sand swept over, he was pushed into the hidden Luin space and was instantly buried in the sandstorm. Since the sand hadn't settled yet, it was hard for him to borrow strength and move freely. However, he still managed to find a few items, but he couldn't take any of the countless items. This made him extremely uncomfortable. The others were in the same situation. They were all tossed around in the sandstorm, unable to control themselves. The lucky ones were able to get a few items. The unlucky ones didn't even get anything. Among them, Jean Depang was the most pitiful. After he entered the hidden Luin space, the first thing he saw was a dozen items 100 meters away. Before he could even feel happy, he was completely swallowed by the sandstorm. His vision was a mess, and he didn't even know where he was floating to. Thunderstorm and Lei Xingfeng found an item that was glowing. Thunderstorm flew over with Lei Xingfeng. They were already at the edge of the sandstorm. When Thunderstorm flew past the glowing item, Lei Xingfeng left Thunderstorm's back and pounced toward the item. He grabbed it, but Thunderstorm had already flown away with him. The sandstorm instantly swallowed the area. Thunderstorm asked, "What is it?" Lei Xingfeng had already put the item into the hidden Luin space. He said, "I didn't have time to look. I already kept it." This wasn't a good time to look at the loot. They continued to search for items. This was a rare opportunity. There were too many items inside. Most of them were materials. Of course, the materials weren't bad, but compared to the items that could be made, the materials weren't important. Thunderstorm and Lei Xingfeng had already discussed the order of collecting the items. The various training methods were first, followed by the various items. Among them, the combat and defensive items were first, then the rare materials, and finally the items that they encountered. If they could get it, they wouldn't give it up. The two searched back and forth. The curtain of sand behind them was still rapidly expanding, gradually covering the entire space. They didn't know how much sand this hidden Luin space had absorbed from the outside. Moreover, the entire space would emit rumbling sounds, low and shocking. Lei Xingfeng knew in his heart that in this operation, Yi and he had the biggest gains. Even if they had the biggest gains, the items they collected would at most take up 1% or 2% of the treasures in the hidden Luin space. Out of 100 items, it would already be good if they could take 1 or 2 items. The only consolation was that the items they got were definitely the best. With Thunderstorm's eyes and knowledge, the two picked the best, especially the rare training methods, various tools, and ancient practitioner's medicine. Lei Xingfeng even found many extinct plants and minerals for making medicine. Many star beasts' blood and bones were all extremely precious items. As long as he saw them, he would call Thunderstorm over. For days later, the entire space was filled with sand. Outside of 2 to 3 meters, it was a blur. Only then did they search for the items floating around them. They didn't pick anymore. As long as there was something, they would keep it. On the 8th day, there was an earth-shattering explosion. All the sand and items fell down rapidly. Huge piles of sand appeared one after another. A large number of items were buried in the sand, including Tai Long and the others. However, they were happy because they could borrow strength. They struggled to get out of the sand, and at the same time, they tried their best to collect the items around them. All of them were grinning from ear to ear. When the sky cleared and almost all the items fell down, Thunderstorm and Lei Xingfeng were still in the air. They saw a strange scene. 2 dazzling items were moving quickly in the air. Lei Xingfeng shouted, "What's that?" "Chase after it." He subconsciously determined that it was definitely a good item. Thunderstorm's pupils shrunk to the size of a needle. He didn't hesitate when he heard the shout. He brought Lei Xingfeng and rushed over. He had already recognized what it was. His heart was beating like a drum. That was the refined Diangheng Thunder Liquid, a legendary item. Moreover, it already had a rare spirituality. It actually wanted to escape from the hidden Luin space. Lei Xingfeng shouted, "Strange, that thing knows how to escape." Thunderstorm squeezed out a sentence from between his teeth. Of course, it has spirituality. That's Dianghang Thunder Liquid. That's the opportunity for me to break through. His voice was trembling. One big and one small, 2 balls of Dianghang Thunder Liquid. The big ball of Dianghang Thunder Liquid carried the small ball and ran around in the air. Thunderstorm also carried Lei Xingfeng and chased after it, creating a very strange scene. Jean Depang crawled out from the sand and saw a large piece of metal on the sand. He was pleasantly surprised and hugged it. It was a rare, refined metal. This metal was enough for him to refine a Luan weapon. He even had some extra. Just as he put it away, he heard the sound of thunder in the sky. He raised his head and saw the strange scene. He was shocked. What the hell is that? Tai Long finally got the item he wanted. It was a rare Luan weapon. If he advanced again, he would be a true E-master. He really needed a Luan weapon. Even if it didn't match his attribute, he could still use it to exchange with others. Thus, he no longer felt sullen and began to frantically search for items. Everyone had something to gain. Of course, there were also many who were injured. There was even a Wan Luan Shi who was unlucky enough to be crushed under the sand. He was unable to crawl out and was buried alive. Thunderstorm's cultivation was unfathomable. This guy had always been hiding his cultivation, not telling anyone. Even Lei Xingfeng didn't know. His speed became faster and faster. Lei Xingfeng was being choked by the rope until he couldn't breathe. Only he knew that a Yi had reached a critical moment. He forcefully held onto the rope and didn't make a sound. Finally, Thunderstorm caught up to the Dianghang Thunder Liquid about 10 meters away. He reached out his hand, and a large lightning hand suddenly appeared, grabbing the ball of Dianghang Thunder Liquid. He didn't hesitate to swallow it in one gulp. Following that, he grabbed another ball of Dianghang Thunder Liquid. This one was clearly much smaller. The previous one was the size of a pig's head, and this one was the size of a grapefruit. Thunderstorm shouted, "Open your mouth." Lei Xingfeng couldn't help but open his mouth wide. It wasn't because he was following orders, but because he was shocked to see Thunderstorm swallow the Dianghang Thunder Liquid. After that small ball of Dianghang Thunder Liquid was grabbed by Thunderstorm, Thunderstorm squeezed it hard. In an instant, the Dianghang Thunder Liquid was quickly compressed to the size of an orange. In an instant, it entered Lei Xingfeng's wide-open mouth. As soon as it touched Lei Xingfeng's mouth, it flowed down his throat. Lei Xingfeng felt as if he had swallowed a ball of fire, burning down a line. He covered his mouth and said, "Ai, this." Thunderstorm's face was full of smiles as he said, "It's okay, it's okay. You have a single lightning attribute, Luan Mark. Others who eat it will immediately be burned to ashes, but you'll be fine after eating it." Ha 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 ha. He was so excited that he didn't know what to do. He was already confident that he could continue to level up. With this ball of Dianghang Thunder Liquid, this trip was definitely worth it. As long as he had time, he was sure that he would be able to level up quickly. Nothing else was worth mentioning. Lei Xingfeng still didn't know how much benefit he had gained. But seeing Thunderstorm so excited, he knew that he had gained something. Although what this benefit was, he still didn't know. Dianghang Thunder Liquid was something that almighty beings refined from natural lightning. If a lightning attribute cultivator wanted to absorb it, they would need Lei Yin. In other words, only a true Yin master with 6 true ring bodies could swallow it. Otherwise, they would definitely be burned to ashes. The reason why Lei Xingfeng was able to swallow Dianghang Thunder Liquid as a Millwall master was because he had obtained a Lei Yin when he first started cultivating and fused it with his body. Thunderstorm knew about his grandson's background, which was why he dared to let him swallow a ball of Dianghang Thunder Liquid. The benefits were indescribable. This would help Lei Xingfeng build a solid foundation for his cultivation. Dianghang Thunder Liquid was definitely something that almighty beings could create. Thunderstorm and Lei Xingfeng both started to suspect that the owner of this hidden Luan space was a lightning attribute cultivator. After obtaining the Dianghang Thunder Liquid, Thunderstorm was already satisfied. He brought Lei Xingfeng down to the ground. With a whistle, everyone quickly gathered. Thunderstorm said, "Everyone listen to me. Then we will search for items and treasures." Gulu said, "All right, everyone pay attention." Lei Xingfeng looked at everyone curiously. At this time, Jean Depang limped over. Lei Xingfeng couldn't help but laugh. Depang. Ha 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 ha. He really couldn't help it. This guy was too pitiful. His head was covered in sand, and the sand on his face was washed by sweat. His two small eyes were constantly blinking, and there was a layer of sand on his eyelashes. Even the color of his hair couldn't be seen. Laugh, laugh, Jean Depang said. I'll see you flying around in the sky. If I had a grandpa like you, I would also be able to be proud. His tone was full of envy and jealousy. Lei Xingfeng laughed. How was a harvest? Jean Depang immediately became proud. Along the way, he knew that he had struck gold. In the future, when he became a Taoist and condensed his first true ring body, it shouldn't be a big problem. Cultivation was nothing more than talent, techniques, and resources. His talent and techniques weren't a big problem, but he lacked resources. The treasures he obtained this time, whether it was materials or other things, could be used to exchange for things he needed. Tai Long checked his subordinates and found that a few of them were missing. His heart sank, and he immediately ordered them to search for them later. Shi Quan, Hong Chun, and Yin all had good harvests. Although they were in a sorry state, with their bodies covered in sand, their faces were full of smiles. Chapter 78. Tai Popo stood at the side. She would occasionally pick up some things from the ground. They were all small things that fell from the sky. Some of them were precious materials. Yin Wu crawled out from under the sand. No one knew where he crawled to. After he crawled out, his face was filled with joy. He held a black ring in his hand and said, "Hey, does anyone know what this is?" Lei Xingfeng recognized it and said, "That's a small lightning ring. You won't be able to use it. It's used by lightning-type practitioners." Yin Wu was generous. He raised his hand and threw it to Lei Xingfeng and said, "Okay then, I'll give it to you." Lei Xingfeng didn't hold back. Although this thing wasn't precious, it was something that he could use now. It was probably something that the original owner made in the early days. It was placed in the hidden Luan space and was long forgotten. And Yaden stood far away. No one knew what she was thinking. It was rare that she didn't bother Lei Xingfeng. Thunderstorm clapped his hands and said, "Okay, I'll just say a few words. Then everyone can go find their own opportunities. Time is of the essence. I won't waste everyone's time." Everyone listened quietly. They all knew that Elder Thunderstorm wouldn't speak without thinking. Thunderstorm said, "The hidden Luan space will soon completely collapse. It will directly appear at the Thousand Sand Barrier. I can guarantee that there will be a large group of well-prepared experts outside. So once the space collapses, don't hesitate and immediately escape. Kill anyone who chases you. If you can't kill them, then try your best to escape. You can also form small groups. This way you can help each other. Also, don't be greedy. We can't take everything here, leaving behind. Some things will also restrict a large number of people." Tai Long said, "If we don't escape and continue to stay here, I think no one will do anything to us." He had 5 true ring bodies and was very confident in his own strength, especially in Shi Rong land. As the saying goes, a strong dragon can't defeat a snake in its own territory. He didn't need to be afraid of foreign practitioners. Thunderstorm didn't refute. He nodded and said, "If you want to stay, I won't stop you. Just be careful." Gulu was even more dissatisfied with Tai Long. He had the same thoughts as Elder Thunderstorm. "Since you don't want to listen to advice, then I won't advise you anymore. After all, it's your own." He also made up his mind to leave. His harvest this time was second only to Thunderstorm and Lei Xingfeng. He could also fly short distances and was much stronger than the others. He obtained many good things. He planned to exchange with Elder Thunderstorm after leaving and see if he could find something he was satisfied with. Actually, no one would have thought that this hidden Luan space treasure was a hidden starlink. They also didn't think that there would be so many things, and also didn't think that it would be so dangerous. If they didn't have the geographical advantage, probably not many people would have survived. Tai Long had his own confidence because he still had subordinates he could use. A few true master-level practitioners made him believe that there shouldn't be many people who could threaten him. Jean Depang muttered in his heart. He didn't have any elders or masters to help him. He could only rely on himself. After hearing Elder Thunderstorm's words, he immediately understood that once the hidden Lewin space appeared, he had to run immediately. He definitely couldn't stay here. He lightly bumped Lei Xingfeng with his shoulder and whispered, "AI, a phone. When you leave, bring me along." Lei Xingfeng nodded and said, "Okay, as long as you follow, there won't be any problems." He didn't object to bringing Jean Depang along. This fellow gave off a good feeling and was also good at cooking. With him around, there wouldn't be any problems eating. Thunderstorm said, "Okay, everyone continue looking for treasures. A phone, let's go." Jean Depang hurriedly followed and said, "Old man, I'll go with you." Thunderstorm didn't say anything, but tacitly allowed him to follow. Most of the treasures were already buried in the sand. If they wanted to dig them out, it would be very difficult. Thus, everyone's attention was focused on the surface of the sand. There were plenty of things on the sand, enough for them to pick up. There were all kinds of things on the ground, most of which were various kinds of ores. Because the hidden Lewin space wasn't big enough, Lei Xingfeng only looked for rare materials. Only Elder Thunderstorm didn't reject anything. Wherever he went, almost everything was swept clean. Lei Xingfeng even found a few ancient golden rings. They were different from the ones used in the modern era. The ancient golden rings were the size of a palm and covered with patterns. He didn't want them at first, but Jean Depang said that these things were very valuable, much more valuable than the ones used in the modern era. Some practitioners liked to collect them. These golden rings were also known as flower golden rings or ancient golden rings. One ancient golden ring could be exchanged for a few thousand golden rings. There were quite a lot of ancient golden rings here, and they didn't take up much of the hidden lens space. Thus, Lei Xingfeng conveniently kept them. It wasn't that he liked them, but that he brought them for Lei Xingyao. The little girl liked them the most, so he gave them to her as a small gift. A few days later, Lei Xingfeng's hidden Lewin space was full. He had no choice but to start throwing away some of the worthless things. As for Lei Bao, Gulu, and the other experts, they began to attack the sand pile, blasting the ground open and blasting out the things buried below. The others were picking up the cheap stuff from the side. The things that the adept wanted were of a higher grade, so he was too lazy to collect the things that he didn't need. They all benefited the juniors on the side. They were all juniors, so no one dared to compete with the juniors. According to Lei Xingfeng's estimation, once this hidden Lewin space appeared, it would take up no less than 1,000 square kilometers, a very large area. Thunderstorm also gradually stopped. He knew that he couldn't take everything. He was already very lucky to have gotten the lightning serum and a few star python skin records. What he needed to consider now was how to leave smoothly. He was different from Tai Long. He had experienced too many things, and his intuition towards danger was especially strong. He instinctively felt that this trip wouldn't be smooth. If he was alone, he wouldn't be afraid, but he had to bring Lei Xingfeng and pick up Lei Xingyao. These were two huge burdens that definitely wouldn't drag him down. For this, Thunderstorm had to be prepared. He didn't want to be caught unprepared. After discussing with Gulu and the others, each of them had a rough plan. As for Tai Long, he was obviously blinded by the things in the hidden Lewin space. He brought a group of underlings to search and excavate with all his might. It couldn't be blamed. He had a large group of underlings to feed, with so many ready-made things. How could he let go of them? The old man, Thunderstorm, understood that with Tai Long's greedy methods, he would definitely suffer in the end. He had already reminded him that the other party wasn't a normal practitioner, but a true master with 5 true ring bodies. He wasn't his underling, and was only a friend. He couldn't control the other party's actions, so he didn't say anything else. Lei Xingfeng also stopped searching and began to train. This place had already been confirmed. It was the hidden Lewin space of an ancient almighty. Moreover, it was a lightning-attributed almighty, which would be of great help to him. Training here was even better than training outside. These few days he had gained a lot, and his training had increased by leaps and bounds. On this day, the entire space began to tremble violently. The old man, Thunderstorm, immediately gathered everyone. Other than Tai Long's group, everyone else gathered around the old man, Thunderstorm, preparing for the collapse of the hidden Lin space. Tai Long brought his underlings and prepared for the collapse of the space. Thunderstorm and Gulu released their seals. One was Lain, the other was Fire Seal, protecting everyone as they waited for the collapse of the space. Kacha sounds mixed with rumbling sounds. The ground began to tremble violently. Large amounts of items were jolted out from the ground. At this time, no one dared to go out and pick them up. They could only watch with their eyes wide open. Waves of sand rose up, and the entire space became blurry once again. It was as if a huge eggshell had suddenly cracked open, and the invisible impact instantly erupted. The people outside could clearly see a cloud of smoke and dust suddenly spread out, as if the entire sky had exploded. The sand that covered the sky and the sun rose up, forming a wall of sandstorm that quickly spread out in all directions. Not only were there countless amounts of sand, there were also large amounts of materials and items. It was simply like treasures falling from the sky. Someone had already picked up the items that dropped down and let out a shout of joy, but before he could keep it in his hidden Luin space, he was hacked to death, and the items were immediately snatched away. In an instant, the outside was in a mess. At this time, the number of practitioners that had rushed here had already reached tens of thousands. It was truly a sea of people outside. When the sandstorm came, almost no one dodged, but rather rushed in. They all knew that the collapse of the space meant that large amounts of items and materials would appear. No one would leave. This meant opportunity and a lot of wealth. Sidaneo brought a large group of people. He said in a deep voice, "No one move, wait." Sunbaru laughed. "The person inside hasn't appeared yet. What's the rush? The good stuff should be in the hands of that group of people, right? It's that thunderstorm, right?" He turned his head and said to E. Dayton. Dayton nodded. "That's right, it's that guy. If we catch him, we might be able to get some good stuff." Sidaneo said, "Don't worry. He won't be able to escape." Sand flew everywhere as the people who had jumped into the sandstorm madly tried to escape. In that instant, countless people were covered with blood. The speed at which the sand shot out was so fast that it pierced through those with weaker defenses. In just the blink of an eye, at least hundreds of people died, and thousands of people were injured as they tried to escape in a wretched state. Dayton laughed coldly. "If you want to take advantage, you have to look at your own strength. This group of idiots." Sunburu laughed. "Wealth moves people. What's so strange about that?" Sidaneo said, "All right, be careful. Someone is about to appear." The sandstorm had already reached their group. Sidano suddenly flew into the air, raised his hand, and punched out. With a boom, the entire sandstorm that was pressing down on them collapsed. It was actually blown apart by his punch in the air, and a huge gap appeared. You're tuning into the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.